Beautiful. After restarting... I haven't watched it. I think I know what anime you're talking about, but I have not watched it. But are you guys ready? We have started the recording. I'm excited. Today we are reading chapter 333. We're going to get the three No, wait, I'm not going to stutter right away. As I say, I'm not going to stutter. We are going to have the three musketeers faced off against a sequence 5 rows of school. Sequence of honor? Rows of school, right? No, am I saying it wrong or right? I think I'm the rows of the school of rows of school. I said it wrong. Damn, I messed up the faction. Point is, the three musketeers are going to be fighting a sequence 5 Beyonder in this read through, and I'm excited to see what Merrick, Sharon, and Klein can do when they work together. Rose School of Thought. Thank you. I forgot the word of thought. Thank you. Now I have my thoughts in place. Close enough. We can continue. So if you like what you are going to see, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, show it to your family, show it to your teacher, show it to your bus driver, show it to your neighbors, show it to your enemies, and let's go. 333. It's called the what? The Tracker? Ooh. Was that a Monster Hunter reference? Are they tracking monsters or what? Chapter 333, The Tracker. In the suburbs of the let's reread that. Pretend that didn't happen. In the suburbs of the, one more time. 3 is the lucky number. In the suburbs of the North Borough, and a soon-to-be abandoned 3-story medical school building. Even at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the fog and the clouds have already darkened the whole of Backland as if a storm was approaching. Along the dilapidated corridor, the gloomy light shone in diagonally, penetrating the windows and causing everything to appear silent and scared. It was eerie and terrifying. This was Audrey's second time here, and she was no longer as nervous and tense as before. She turned her head left and right in a surgical cap and a big mask, habitually observing the environment, observing every detail of this place. Viscount Glint was walking beside her and gradually turned apprehensive. He couldn't help but whisper, "Why do I find this place a little strange? Could there be evil ghosts?" As a mysticism enthusiast who had only half a foot of the Bonner circle, the only Bonner's phenomenon he had witnessed was force passing through walls and the opening of a door. He was still unsure of the existence of wraiths and shadows. However, this didn't stop him from being afraid of similar monsters. Force turned her head and shot him a glance as she held back her laughter. Most of the participants of this gathering are Beyonders. If there really are evil ghosts or spirits, they will definitely be very happy. It usually implies ingredients and servants. Yeah, I can see that. My music is too low. I'm gonna turn the volume up a smidge more. Noticing that this Viscount Glint was obviously relieved, she purposely added, "Of course, I'm only talking about the weaker kinds of ghosts. A truly formed shadow might be able to kill everyone here without making a sound. And even if you run, all you can do is run back and forth between the 3 stores without being able to live. It's like entering a maze." Shio nodded in approval. "I've once encountered a similar wraith. I ran in circles while in the cemetery without any means of escaping. During this process, there were baffled people who would turn their heads for no reason, only to suffer a sudden death. If not for one of the Beyonders carrying a sun charm, perhaps you wouldn't be seeing me here today." Viscount Glane shivered as he looked out the window. At this moment, a withered tree branch hit the glass and made a light sound as it was blown by the cold wind. Glane almost shouted out loud as he frantically inched towards the two Beyonders, Force and Shio. Audrey resisted smiling and quietly watched the scene from the sidelines. In her heart, she thought, "I have met Mr. Fool, who is close to a deity. I know the City of Silver and the Forsaken Lands of Gods. I have heard of all kinds of terrifying monsters in the depths of darkness. Why would I fear wraiths and shadows? However, I really haven't met a ghost yet. Pew. Audrey, who are you thinking? It's better not to come across this kind of thing. Unless I become a psychiatrist with Beyonder powers capable of influencing other creatures." I didn't remember she can do that. "Or if I have obtained mystical items that can restrain ghosts and monsters." The 4 of them couldn't help but increase their pace and quickly arrive at the gathering venue for their day. Before she entered, Force found an opportunity to bend her back and whisper into Shio's ears, "You did well cooperating with me just now. You actually made up a story so quickly that's enough to frighten others. Look at the sports, which aren't covered by Viscount Glane's mask. It's so white that you can't see any colors." Shio turned her head as she answered blankly. I didn't make up the story. That was something that happened to me before I came to Buckland. Force was stunned for a moment before she blurted out a question. For real? Why would I lie? Shield's puzzled face was obscured by the mask. Force turned her head and took 2 steps forward and suddenly shivered. At that moment, Klein didn't wish to stay in the creepy corridor any longer. He reached out of his hand and pushed open the door to the gathering venue. As the creaking sound echoed, he saw the concrete floor of and the smell of antiseptic coming into his nose. It made him frown. Soon after, he saw a large pool in the middle. It was filled with a clear yellow liquid, and there were floating figures inside. Clear yellow floating liquid. Audrey is showing off. Kiki, you're trying to monetize LN2M vids, right? Because non-monetized vids of anime OSTs are not taken down. Some of the figures were entirely naked. Some were rather completely, while others were half their skin ripped off. They had the brownish, burned colors of beef jerky. They were corpses. A man's shrill cry resounded in the room. Gazes were instantly cast onto Glint. These gazes were all from the figures in white coats surrounding the pool. They were also wearing surgical caps and huge masks, and only in their eyes or a bit of their skin were exposed. Glant's body swayed a bit. He wanted to turn around and run away, but when he saw Audrey, Force, and Shield pass him, as if nothing happened, in order to enter his room, he realized that they were pretending that they weren't his companions. As he took a deep breath, Glant nearly vomited. He looked outside and saw the corridor was dark and gloomy, filled with shadows, and that there wasn't a single living soul in sight. With another, where are we? I thought we were going to a Beyonder meeting. With another shudder, Glant hastened his steps and caught up with Audrey and others, finding a place to sit down as far as possible from the pool. After a few minutes, a figure wearing a white coat stepped out of line and used a wooden pole with a hook on the side to pull a corpse to the side. Then he directly dragged the corpse to the concrete floor. He paused for about 3 seconds, took out a scalpel, and slit open the body's abdomen. As the gash deepened, a cold and hoarse voice suddenly sounded from inside. We are in the Beyonder meeting. Let the gathering begin. That's gross, bro. Glayton reached out with his hand to press down his mask. His throat moved a few times and he almost vomited. They were midway in the gathering with all kinds of trades, either a success or a failure happening. Audrey, who had been calmly observing all this time, finally opened her mouth and said, I want the spectator potion formula. Before she can finish her sentence, she felt several gazes swept over her. However, they quickly moved away and didn't linger for long. After several seconds of silence, the transaction was aborted. Around 4 in the afternoon, it was getting closer to night. Why was there nothing at all? Glayton didn't maintain his aristocratic demeanor as he slumped against the wooden walls of the carriage inside. This Beyonder gathering had left a deep impression on him, making him feel as if he was taking a huge risk. But even so, he was still unable to buy the horn of an adult flying unicorn and the venom crystal of a royal jellyfish. Force secretly pushed her lips and said, That's normal, although Buckland is the easiest place to get ingredients. If you can't join every Beyonder gathering, there would be situations in which you won't be able to find what you want for a long time. It requires either luck or patience. Mr. Viscount, think about Miss Audrey's spectator potion. She hasn't received any clues to date. Sometimes you can encounter the ingredients, but you would lack the money to buy them. Shio, who was sitting on the table, thought in exasperation. Audrey counseled Glant, when I get back, I'll go to my family vault and do a search. Maybe there's something you want. She had brought the rainbow salamander pituitary gland with her today, but she hasn't encountered the spinal fluid of a Farsman rabbit. Therefore, she had only exchanged it for 320 pounds in cash. It was prepare for Susie's advancement. Oh, look at Susie moving up in the world. Glate nodded, and just as he was about to open his mouth, he saw Shio sitting up straight. She frowned and said, It seems like someone is following us. I trust your intuition. What do we do now? Force asked, looking around. Following us? Why follow us? All we did was sell one Beyonder item and obtained a few £100 in cash. Even if someone wanted to rob us, we shouldn't be at the top targets. Although Glayton acted like a rookie, we didn't. In addition, the gathering organizer had done a lot of things to ensure the safety of the members and to prevent anyone from being followed. Unless the person who sent the tracker! I understood the name of this episode. This chapter. Yeah, it has been a while, right, Freddy? Yeah, it's been a while. What's up, dude? Welcome. Thank you for joining. I lost my places to send that. The person who sent the tracker is the organizer. Last time everything seemed normal, huh? The difference between the two occasions, Audrey's mind raced when she suddenly came up with an idea. Perhaps it was my request to purchase the spectator formula that attracted the attention of the psychology alchemists. It's impossible for them to randomly spell the spectator formula, so what would inevitably follow is recruitment into the organization. Oh. Okay. And their recruitment isn't a simple matter. One has to be wary of any quasi-Nighthawks or quasi-mandated punishers or spies sent by other hidden factions. If they don't observe the targets and conduct an investigation, the organization would quickly be destroyed. After pondering for a few seconds, Audrey said to Forrest and the others, prepare to be attacked. No way they're gonna fight. Prepared to be attacked. Pretend as though you didn't notice the tracker. If we can successfully return to Emperor's Borough, don't worry about it. Exposing the identities of Glenn and me, both of you have to leave in secret. Her green eyes swept over Glenn as she added with a smile. A lot of people know that we are mysticism enthusiasts, so it's normal for us to find an opportunity to participate in Beyond the Gathering. Even the tracker is an official Beyonder, they won't suspect anything. We're just regular people, so all they will do is warn us through other channels. But I'm already at Sequence 8. In order to come into contact with the Psychology Alchemist, I had to take a little risk. It's likely the official Beyonders won't target me for seeking to purchase a formula. They shouldn't be able to bypass the gathering organizers and track us down. I want to believe in my own judgment. Audrey cheered herself on. Okay, Viscount Glint mumbled as he agreed. The horse carriage continued on as usual, going in circles a few times. In the end, Audrey and the others changed to another carriage as they had planned. Throughout this process, the tracker never attacked. When they reached the back door of Viscount Glint's mansion in the Emperor's Borough, the two mobiles used their usual means of returning. As for Forrest and Shio, they each relied on their own skills to leave. About 10 minutes later, Audrey, accompanied by her huge golden retriever Susie and her maids, openly left through the front door in her own carriage. As she listened to the sound of the rolling wheels, she was unable to confirm if they were still people following her. She could only let her thoughts wander. It's obvious that the daughter of the Count Hall isn't a spy of any Beyonder factions. That's what they're thinking. There's nothing wrong with her past. Her love for mysticism is well known. Her status and identity can provide assistance that's different from other people. Perhaps in 2 days, there will be members of the Psychology Alchemist who will try to come in contact with me. Audrey thought with some anticipation and some nervousness. Although he said he was making preparations, Klein spent 2 days at the Quelling Club as if nothing had happened. He even played a game of cards with the equestrian teacher Talim and the others, winning a few soli. Look at him winning money. Look at him gambling for money. Before he went to bed, he didn't forget to visit the outsiders of Lord Driggan's house to make sure if there were no lights and to feed the cat. At 8 o'clock on Friday, he put on his iron mask and wore his black hooded robe and entered the activity room of old Mr. Eye of Wisdom. Look at him making contact. Let's go, bro. Let's go gambling. No, gambling is bad. Stay away from that. It's cool for Klein because he's good. He can just like use a seer divination and find out if he should go black or red. Like he's good. He's good. He does not have 50-50. He has a 100% guarantee every time he does a divination. He's good when it comes to gambling. Chapter 334 is called Bullets. The only candle flicked its yellow flame, casting shadows on the walls around the activity room. Klein found the most convenient escape point before surveying his surroundings. He saw the Eye of Wisdom with his deep cheek lines and the plump apocryphy. Oh, the one he saw at the carnival. I'll never stoop to gotcha. I'll stay pure. You can be free to play. Username. Well, after another comparison, even though he's wearing an iron mask that covers half his face, it's still pretty clear that he was the man I met at Rice Circus who deserves a beating. Klein looked. Why does he deserve a beating? He just said, like, oh, be careful. Klein looked away and waited for the gathering to officially begin. The woman who had an artisan backing her was very hidden among the participants, so he couldn't be sure that she was present before she spoke. After a few minutes, Eye of Wisdom raised his head to look at the mechanical clock on the wall and chuckled. There's a lot of people here today. Let's begin. Before he finished speaking, the plump apocryphy rushed to speak. I needed a Beyond a creature for an experiment. It's best if it's an animal, and it's best if it's already restrained and one that's not too dangerous. A beast-type Beyonder creature? A beast-type Beyonder creature. Klein was slightly moved. He remembered what the apocryphy had said in the Circus Theater, and he was apparently able to read the thoughts of beasts. He's just an apocryphy, yet he possesses such an ability and is even looking to purchase a beast-type Beyonder creature? Huh. After I sold him the Spring of the Elves Marrow Crystal, he should have gathered the ingredients in advance of the next sequence. In other words, the sequence after the apocryphy has something to do directing wild beasts. Wait, wasn't this Beast Tamer when it was revealed? No, right? Klein made a deduction based on the information he knew. At this moment, someone responded to apocryphy with a sneer. Who would keep a Beyonder creature by their side? Who? The one that was taming the devil dog? What do you mean, man? It's a dangerous and easily discovered. Wouldn't it be easier and more concealing to kill them and attain its Beyonder ingredients? Did he just reveal that? The Apocryphy was a person who refused to lose. Oh, wait, yeah, no, they don't know. Yeah, never mind. That is known. The Apocryphy was a person who refused to lose in a spar of words, so he immediately sneered. What a foolish thought. You can't guarantee that the Beyonder ingredients on a Beyonder creature is exactly what you need, and that you can definitely sell it. You might as well tame it and direct it to be your helper, increasing your strength in several folds. As I'm excited to see more people with like Beyonder people fighting alongside them. Wait, like Audrey. Audrey has Susie. I can see her advancing, and then like Susie and Audrey like team up in Beyonder fights. Like that'd be really hype. That'd be really hype. And then like me Klein starts using some like octopus stuff. With like, you know, when he kind of went mad briefly, he saw like the octopus tentacles. Maybe it's a point where he can like actually summon an octopus, like, or like Cthulhu or something like that, because you guys said there's like a lot of Cthulhu mythos in it, right? You can't carry. I read this. As he spoke, his voice gradually grew softer. He also felt as if he had revealed some important secret. Damn it, why can't I control this mouth of mine? The Apocryphy figuratively smacked himself in his heart. As expected, Klein nodded indiscriminately. Without a doubt, the Apocryphy's request wasn't met. Most of the participants here were low sequence Beyonders, and their statuses in Buckland weren't very prominent, with the need for them to be relatively alert to the point of barely maintaining it. So how is it possible for them to extravagantly rear a Beyonder creature? Furthermore, more importantly, there was the fact that wild Beyonder creatures were usually hostile to humans. Not Susie. Any encounter would usually lead one to death. I'd read that wrong. Lead to one dead. So if one wanted to capture them alive, they would need to have a sufficiently strong team or to be strong enough to overwhelm the enemy. Of course, it didn't exclude particular Beyonders who possessed special abilities that were suitable for such situations. After a bout of disappointment, the Apocryphy coughed lightly and said, I've brought quite a few bottles of medicine. All of you know the effects. If you want them, you can speak up when the gathering is almost over. The few medicines to treat wounds go berserk and increase one's ability in that aspect. Klein silently lampooned. He chuckled and provided a suggestion. You can purchase a sequence design formula, find the corresponding Beyonder ingredients, and then concoct the potion to feed the animal you fancy. This way, you will have a sequence design Beyonder creature, and you can also continuously advance it with the subsequent potions. That's kind of what Susie did, right? I mean, I know she ain't wild, but like... She gonna fight. I can feel it. She a dog. She a beautiful golden retriever. Bro's selling. That is not what he's selling, Romero. Of course, that's built on the premise that you are rich enough and you can deal with the defensive ones that lose control. The Apocryphy was stunned for a few seconds. After a while, he said, how extravagant. Just saving up money and finding the Beyonder ingredients for myself is difficult enough for me. It's also a high probability, even for an animal, to lose control after they consume potions. It will take me several times before I succeed. Someone who can do this must have a mine or owns a bank. Our Tarot Club's Miss Justice likely rears a Beyonder creature. Klein suddenly felt sorry for the Apocryphy. If one wanted to disregard it for the sole purpose... he's already speculating that. Yeah, because of all the questions he asked. If one wanted to disregard it for the sole purpose of earning money, Apocryphies were the easiest among the low sequence Beyonders to amass large amounts of wealth. The problem was that they were also easily targeted by official Beyonders. After a few more deals or failed transactions, Klein heard a voice that was deliberately suppressed. I only brought one Beyonder weapon this time. They are 50 bullets with different effects. Klein has to buy this because he needs rounds. 20 of them are engraved with the Sun Domain's labels as the symbols forming a complete charm. They can be used to purify ghost-related monsters. They cause more damage to wraiths and shadows, so they are called purifying bullets. There are another 20 bullets which are meant for corrupted creatures known as demon hunting. This is so hype. Known as demon hunting bullets. The other 10 are bullets that counter evil type monsters known as the exorcism bullets. Their effects can be maintained for 18 months or more. 50 bullets for... Oh, that is a lot of money. Don't buy it, Klein. Nah, just steal it, bro. 50 bullets for 500 pounds. That's like more than half of his like current money. Or the barbarian potion formula. Oh... He like, I have a counterpoint. What if I give you this one? It will come with a revolver with the matching caliber. They did make related bullets according to my suggestions from last time. From the looks of it, they're more complicated than ordinary Beyonder weapons. It took them so long only to make a set. Klein didn't give the others a chance and directly said, I have the barbarian portion formula. At this moment, a rather tall man offered a price of 550 pounds. Ooh, he's gonna be haggling. Bruh, steal it. That's what I'm saying. And this, they are at least... In Lord of Mysteries, not in the real world. Don't steal in real life, but you can do it in Lord of Mysteries. It's okay. In this day and age, a revolver was the most convenient beyonder weapon to use and carry. The well-hidden lady's voice was filled with unquenchable joy as she said, "Sir, I'm sorry. I have a preference for the barbarian formula. 600 pounds." The man raised. Ooh, the man raised the offer again. "No, this is not about money." The woman with the artisan backing her glanced at Klein. "Deal. But please pass the formula to old Mr. Eye of Wisdom for his notarization." Phew, it's a good thing that I got the Dark Emperor card. He got lucky. Otherwise, if I met someone who can raise the price so ruthlessly, I definitely would have lost a lot of money today. Klein rolled up his robe, took out the barbarian formula, which he had long written from his inner pocket, and opened it to take a look. Sequence 8 barbarian, main ingredients, grass of madness, corn horn crystal, of a land of rhinoceros? What? Like a rhino? Am I saying this wrong? Of a rhino? Supplementary ingredients: 1 deep grained walnut, 1 fragrant hornet grass, 10 milliliters of extracted obtained from soaking poplar bark. Poplar bark? 100 milliliters of liquor. After confirming that it was correct, Klein folded the paper and handed it to the lieutenant. Just like before, Eye of Wisdom took out the ring and was inlaid with many small diamonds. He mimicked the beyonder powers of a notary and confirmed that the formula was true. Hearing this, the old man declared that the formula is valid. The woman with the artisan backing her heaved a sigh of relief and took out a square iron box of the size of a palm. After the attendant passed the formula to her, she eagerly rolled it open and read it a few times, as if she wanted to memorize it directly. As for Klein, he snapped open the box and looked at it. There were 3 piles of bullets inside the middle box. One pile had a faint golden luster. That is hype. Yeah. Yo, what's up, dude? Good morning, Red. What's up? Thanks for joining. After the attendant passed the formula to her, she eagerly rolled it. Oh, wait. There were 3 piles of bullets inside the middle box. One pile had a faint golden luster, as though they had just been fished out of hot water. The other was entirely silver and covered with patterns, cold yet sacred, my bad. The pile with the fewest bullets sufficed a golden sheen amidst the brass color. He could vaguely see several labels and symbols engraved on it. Yes, it's authentic. Klein had the ability to appraise the bullets in the field of mysticism. He has the ability to appraise on the spot. He snapped the lid shut and stored the item in the pocket under his robe. As for the free revolver, it was nothing special. The body of the gun was a deeper brass color, and the handle was made out of a walnut wood. Since his underarm holster had already been lost back when he encountered the police inspection, Klein had to attach the revolver to his waist and cover it with his clothes. He never got that back. Oh, just with his knowledge. It's not an ability. Okay, so just like with his current understanding. Got it. Thank you. I need strong purifying items like Sun Holy Water and Sun Sacred Emblem. I can buy it in gold, or I can use formulas as barter, like the sequence after Barbarian Briber. Of course, if there are any questions regarding the mysticism in the Beyonder world that requires answering, I can also give it a try, but I can't guarantee that I can answer it. As the Apocryphy listened, he widened his eyes. He had a feeling that this was that lucky lad. However, he had just become a Beyonder not long ago, so how could he have obtained so many valuable things? The more he thought about it, the more he gnashed his teeth, feeling as if he had made the wrong choice back then. Luck was the most important thing. The woman who had bought the barbarian formula couldn't control herself and almost said in her original voice, "I don't have anything you need, but I can pay you in cash, 800 pounds. Klein swallowed the word deal that he nearly said. He thought for a moment before chuckling. "I'm only accepting bartering for the time being." Oh, look at that. "I will most likely be back for the next gathering. You can seek out the relevant items in advance." For the time being, the lady ruminated over the word and nodded slowly. All right. After that, no one else said anything, and Klein's needs were also not met. In Buckland and Lowen Kingdom, the worshippers of the eternal blazing sun can be considered heretics. So few of such items circulated beyond official channels. Klein was slightly disappointed, but he wasn't too concerned. He had an alternate plan. He clearly remembered that Miss Shield had once sought out a Beyonder believer of the eternal blazing sun for purification, and the lady who carved the birth formula would definitely be actively looking for his desired items. Klein stopped talking and listened to the subsequent exchanges. When the gathering was coming to an end, an average-built participant with no special characteristics pinched the iron mask on his face and said with a deep, baritone voice, "I need an adult black widow spider silk gland, an adult black widow spider silk gland. Sounds familiar. I seem to have heard of it somewhere." Klein frowned slightly. Without using divination, he tried hard to recall where. Suddenly, he remembered the source of the familiar feeling. It was one of the main ingredients for the demoness of pleasure. Oh, okay. Okay. We got somebody on the demoness pathway. update. Thank you for reminding me as always. I may or may not have forgotten and it was just gonna jump straight into the next chapter. Mysterious Soul, thank you. Chapter 335 is called Exploring Verdi Street. I don't know why my voice spiked, man. Pleasure was sequence 6 of the Demoness Pathway. Klein had obtained its complete formula back when he channeled Madame Sharon's spirit. Although it was usually difficult to recall the exact details and he had to rely on help of dream divination to recall the memory, just hearing the main ingredients was enough to give him a sense of familiarity and make him... Damn, he has a good memory. And make him form connections. He couldn't help but glance over at the buyer, confirming that he was male in terms of skin color, figurine, voice, and unmasked facial features. The sequence prior to Demoness of Pleasures, which, regardless of their gender, as long as they passed that, they would all become women. This person clearly isn't one. He hasn't become a witch yet, so why is he purchasing the main ingredients of a Demoness of Pleasure, huh? Could he be helping someone buy it? Is he the ally of some witch or a loyal subordinate? Oh, maybe. Shut up. Is this guy helping Trissy? Wait, no. Is she coming back this volume? Ah, this is going to be exciting, dude. Is he the ally of some witch or a loyal subordinate? This guy has to be helping Trissy. However, as a rather ancient secret organization, the Demoness Sex shouldn't be lacking the corresponding ingredients. With their natural disposition, it would be normal for them to use the Beyonder characteristics left behind by the former members to concoct this potion. Did the witch behind the buyer lose her connections with the organization? With these thoughts, Klein had the impulse to follow him. However, after careful consideration, he gave up the idea, ignoring the question on how he could bypass the precautionary measures of Eye of Wisdom and lock onto the other party's tracks. Just the fact that the other party's situation was unknown, and with him not having the time to perform a divination, it was enough for him to choose to follow his heart's wishes. What if there isn't only one witch, but a Beyonder who's much stronger? Moreover, it's a good thing for witches to advance the Demoness of Pleasure. The former could cause calamities and harm many innocent people, but once they advance to the latter, their goal would be focused on pleasure. In simple terms, society would be less dangerous, Klein mumbled. An adult Black Widow spider silk gland was already considered to be the relatively expensive and a rare Beyonder ingredient. It was just like the thousand-faced hunter's mutated pituitary gland and the characteristic of a human skin shadow, which Klein needed in order to ascend to Sequence 6. It was almost equivalent to the cost of half a house in the capital. Damn, that is expensive. So the buyer didn't receive a satisfactory response. To be precise, no one responded. The atmosphere of the gathering fell silent until the plump apocryphy started selling the medicine he brought. After the previous trials, he received quite a few repeat customers. In less than 3 minutes, he sold all the goods he could sell and collected more than 50 pounds in cash. As Eyes of Wisdom announced the end of the gathering, each participant left through different passages in a different order and at different intervals. Klein was in the middle, and after he reached a secluded street, he took off his disguise and immediately set off for Eastborough, arriving at the Black Palm Street on that cold and foul-smelling night. On the way, he had purchased an armpit holster. Finally, he has this. You know what? Bad on the cops, man. I thought they would have returned his holster by now, but they never did, dude. He entered his rented one-bedroom apartment. Without taking a break, he took out his revolver and opened the metal box containing the Beyonder bullets. He then took out 2 purifying bullets, 2 demon-hunting bullets, and 1 exorcism bullet. Then he loaded them one by one in their chamber. Oh, that's important. Taking a pose, he tested the feeling and whether he can fire normally. Klein inserted the revolver into his armpit and busied himself with other preparations. So he's putting 2 of each. It's 6 chambers, 2 of each type. Okay, that's cool. And then he can just like spin it on the fly, right? To the one he needs. Okay. For example, he checked to see if there was anything unusual about the all-black eye of the Iron Crate cigarette case. He also played Zig's copper whistle in the metal box containing the bullets, and with the help of the Holy Night powder, he created a seal wall of spirituality that stuck to the surface of the box, completing the shielding of the ancient delicate copper whistle. After confirming that the shapes and positions of the 3 charms, Klein headed above the gray fog for divination. Then he put on his cap and went out again. His target was 32 Verdi Street, which was south of the bridge. It was where the thief had found the master key. There might be clues to the apprentice formula or clues related to the items there. It was somewhere that Klein had long wanted to explore, but he was suspected that the man who died of a tragic death had turned into a wraith-like creature. He didn't dare to take action until he bought purifying bullets. A magician never performs unprepared. Before the I dropped my mic. Can you guys still hear me? We're good? Sorry. Before the steam subway, the most economical mode of transport, had stopped running, Klein arrived south of the bridge before transferring to a public carriage and arrived near Verdi Street. It was already late at night and a chilling drizzle filled Buckland. There were barely any pedestrians on the street, and the light from the gas lamps was blurred by the liquid of the grass, making everything seem dreamlike. Klein circled the area and observed Unit 32's situation. He walked to its side, climbed to the second floor, and easily entered the target's interior from the balcony door, which clearly couldn't be closed by the thief from before. He didn't bring the master key, fearing that the item would cause abnormal chain of reactions here. The layout of the house was very normal. A corridor that connected the two balconies ran through the entire second floor. There were bedrooms, a bathroom, a solarium. Always prepared, always prepared. What's a solarium? Like an observatory? Am I reading that right? And I lost my place. Let's see if I'm reading it right. Damn, I lost my place. And an activity room lining the sides. Okay, we're good. We found our place. With the help of the crimson moonlight shining in the balcony, Klein saw that all the doors had been opened. All kinds of items were thrown on the ground in disarray. It should be the result from the thief from before. He couldn't take away all the items, so he could only search for the most valuable ones. However, with the master key, there's no need for him to open the doors. Klein went through the rooms one by one, looking for things that might be involved with mysticism. After an unknown period of time, a black-gloved Klein arrived at the staircase without any success. Just as he took 2 steps forward, a figure suddenly appeared before him. The figure was pressed against the wall and the corner of the stairs. It was back when facing Klein. Its black hair was so thick that it almost covered its neck. Klein, who had long activated his spirit vision, didn't even have time to observe, for the figure suddenly moved. Okay, what's going on? Let me lower the volume just a smidge down. His neck creaked as he turned his head while his back remained facing the second floor. Amidst the hazy, weak, and illusionary crimson illumination, the figure's eyes were bulging out of their sockets, filled with fear. Thud, thud. The 2 eyeballs hit the ground. Bang. The figure's head fell off its neck and hit the wooden staircase. He's long dead. He's without any spirituality glow. Klein watched and judged calmly, as though what had just happened was a farce. He guessed from the details of the man's old black clothes and the number of rooms open on the second floor, and he decided that this was another burglar, coincidentally on the same day and time. Another burglar, one who was visited the house after the previous one. Unfortunately, he wasn't that lucky. Could it be that the master key was actually restraining the danger here? Wait, what? Unfortunately, he wasn't that lucky. Could it be that the master key was actually restraining that danger here, and when it was taken away, pandemonium was set loose? Klein drew his revolver just at the chamber to the firing position and cocked the revolver. He walked up the stairs to the corpse. He squatted down and examined it briefly, but he couldn't find anything other than the fact that his neck had been twisted. That's gross. After pondering for a few seconds, Klein straightened his body and carefully went down the stairs. Even though he was standing on the wooden staircase, he didn't make any creaking sounds. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. After walking down the flight of stairs, he reached the ground. In front of him was a corridor that connected the 2 sides. The crimson moonlight shone in, outlining the outline of the balcony. The doors on both sides of the corridor were wide open, revealing a messy scene and scattered items. There was no living room, dining room, or kitchen here. This is the second floor. Klein went down from the second floor only to return to the second floor. Klein... Oh, okay, wait, no, it did say second floor twice. Klein went down from the second floor only to return to the second floor. Okay, he's in a loop. Throughout the entire process, he didn't discover anything out of the ordinary. Wait, no, he's not in a loop. Klein didn't panic as he slowly turned around. Behind him, there was a staircase leading downwards. This is to say, my special ability can only resist the invasion of my beyonder powers through the use of beyonder powers such as dreams or spirit channeling, or for me to realize that the environment I'm in does not belong to the real world. I'm still influenced by hallucinations. Ah, so it is a hallucination. I'll still be influenced by hallucinations. Klein took out his matchbox and took out a few matches with his gun carrying hand. He continued downwards. 3 matched down every few steps. Once again, Klein came to the corner of the stairs and saw the dead body with its head separated from its body. At this moment, a cold wind blew across the back of his neck, causing his hair to stand on end. Klein snapped his fingers and a red flame soared through from behind him, soaring towards the ceiling. Those flames seemed to be a monster that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, but the flames didn't burn anything. It's a hallucination. Klein was about to turn around and look with his spirit vision when his body suddenly froze, as if he had fallen into a lake frozen in winter. He couldn't help but tremble, and his left hand was slowly reaching for his neck as he forcibly suppressed it. At that moment, Klein sighed softly. He forced his left hand into the pocket, removed the wall of spirituality, and opened the metal box containing the bullets. Yeah, next he held a Zig's copper whistle, took it out, shook it, and threw it into the air above the stairs. In almost an instant, he felt the coldness and stiffness in his body disappear. In his spiritual perception, a sinister and cold mass sleeping out like a dog, fetching a ball as it pounced at the Zig's copper whistle. Klein smiled, raised his right hand, aimed at the copper whistle, and pulled the trigger. He softly said, "Bye-bye." Damn, look at that, dude. The pale gold purifying bullets flew out and accurately hit the cold and indistinct object. A blood-curdling screech sounded out as the golden flames outlined a human silhouette in midair. A human? Under the bright and warm light, all the coldness and evilness quickly disappeared, clang. A Zig's copper whistle landed on the ground, bounced a few times, and rolled to the living room on the first floor. It's kind of crazy that he just threw his whistle like that. When Klein looked around, he saw that the things were now significantly different. For example, the head of the corpse wasn't separate from its body. He had strangled himself with his own hands. Hey, is it really that easy when... It's really that easy when you're prepared. Klein chuckled and went down the stairs again. He successfully reached the first floor and picked up a Zig's copper whistle. He then swung it twice to see if there were any other wraiths or shadows here. After confirming that there were no more problems, he decided to head straight to the basement. As he walked down the flight of stairs and went through the door, he saw the picture he had seen in his dream divination. He saw the brown notebook on the long table. He got mugged. Bye-bye. he got jumped, bro. Wait, was that a wraith? A Zig's copper whistle was the goat. I'm sorry. Do we know what he fights, or am I supposed to know what he fight based on the description? Like, was it a wraith, or was this something else? Because a wraith can technically have like a human form, right? Just like Sharon's, like she's a wraith and she looks like she's in human form, right? Is that what it was? That's like so it was like a small spirit. Okay, and the small. I stopped the recording. And the small spirit used like illusions to make him like repeat MVP as the copper whistle. It really was the copper whistle because it was drawn to it. That was cool. All right, I get it. All right, thank you. All right, let's keep going. Let's update and let's keep reading. Chapter 336. Oh, the Abraham family. This is gonna be a lore-heavy chapter. I can already taste it. Other than the master key and the silver pocket watch with inlet diamonds, which were taken by the thief, this place is still in the same state as what I had seen in my dream. Klein looked around and saw the black iron pots, glass jars, and bronze lamp stands that had candles which had long since been extinguished. Oh, lore? I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling the lore of this chapter. His spirit vision and spiritual perception told him that these were all very ordinary items. They didn't carry the slightest trace of a spiritual luster, but compared to before, there's still something extra. Klein reached out with his left black gloved palm and touched the surface on the long table. His fingers were immediately stained with visible dust. After carefully and making some preliminary divinations, Klein failed to find any secret chambers or hidden compartments. Thus, he turned his attention to the brown notebook. Carefully flipping through it, the contents of the first page entered his eyes. This will go into the annals of the rise of a cursed family. I want to remember every key point. Further descents, please remember every word that I've said. It's a pity that you lost control and died just moments after taking the Sequence 9 potion. The illusionary glory of the Abraham family can only remain as words. Klein lampooned under his breath and continued reading, quickly flipping through the pages. He planned to take the notebook away once he confirmed his value, not planning to stay any longer. With the Abraham family, we were one of the most powerful nobles of the 4th epoch and were the main supporters of the Tudor dynasty. That is new lore. In that era, be it Lowen's Augustus family, Fasek Einhorn family, Intis Sauron's family, or Fane Potter's Castilla. This is the first time where the families are tied to like which kingdom or like which region. Fane Potter's Castilla's family, all of them looked up to us. Indeed, they weren't weak back then, but we were stronger. Even the rumored this is like literally Dune, bro. Literally Dune. It's like the Atreides. Even the rumored Antigonus family and the Zartul families were slightly weaker than us. Unfortunately, the glory of our family disappeared in the War of the Four Emperors. Ancestor Bethel went missing in that war where the deities personally fought. Deities personally fought. The remaining high sequence beyonders all perished. Ever since then, our Abraham family had been under a terrible curse. Generations after generations, our ancestors have attempted to revive our family, but without exception, all of them went mad and lost control. Some of them did so just before becoming a high sequence beyonder or at sequence 7 and 8. And every case of losing control brings about a disaster that is close to the annihilation of the family. The accursed forget the family name carved in the bloodlines and hurt the other members of the family without restraint. They were already monsters. That Bethel the goat. I want to see more. I like that name. Bethel sounds like a badass character. Did I skip a line? No, I didn't. For the continuation of the family, that's a pretty badass line. The Abraham family made a painful decision to no longer live together. Instead, it split up into small families that migrated to various parts of the northern continent. That way, even if someone lost control and started a massacre, their bloodlines wouldn't be cut off because of this. My father was the fate of that curse, so he chose to remain as an ordinary person. If it wasn't for the fact that the bloodline's last name is still ever shining, he wouldn't even be willing to tell me these things. I want to record this down. I want to keep it in my own mind. I want to remember the glory of the disaster of the Abraham family. Every Beyonder generation would eventually lose control without exception. The curse of the Abraham family is even more terrifying than that of the City of Silver. Oh! Did he just name drop City of Silver? So somebody else mentioned it. Wait, no, this is Klein saying it. Every Beyonder generation would eventually lose control without exception. Oh, so this is him thinking out loud. Wait, this is new lore. Every Beyonder generation would eventually lose control without exception. Because they don't know the acting method. That has to be right. No, that was Klein? Yeah, Klein said that. The curse of the Abraham family is even more terrifying than that of the City of Silver. I think the City of Silver curse is just as bad. Actually, no. This would be a worse curse because it brings the destruction of the entire family, right? Wait a minute, they should all be from the apprentice pathway. Could it be that they heard Mr. Door's plea for help? Oh. This isn't a cry for help, it's clearly a life-depriving curse. However, according to Miss Magician's description, it isn't because she became an apprentice that she had heard the illusionary ravings during the full moon, but because of her use of the bracelet on her wrist? The one that summons the door. Oh, that's crazy. Her item summons the door, and Mr. Door is like calling to her during the full moon. I just pieced that together. Afterwards, she couldn't escape the ravings regardless of whether she wore it or not. And what's the reason for those Beyonders of the Abraham family? Perhaps the hearse has nothing to do with Mr. Door. Well, the notebook mentioned that the ancestor of the Abraham family, Bethel Abraham, that disappeared in the War of the Four Epochs, he's going to come back. Could he be Mr. Door? He's going to come back. He was banished from the real world, lost in the darkness, and left trapped in the storm. He's going to come back. Nah, he's going to come back. I feel it. There's a possibility that the easiest target to ask for help would naturally be the descendants for the same bloodline who are the same Beyonder pathway, but of a relatively lower sequence. It's a pity that's because all the powerful Beyonders had perished. His shouts only bring about a curse of the family that has lasted for more than 1,000 years, almost causing the whole Abraham family to disappear. Is this the reason why Mr. Door is so aware of the history of the Fourth Epoch and the details of the War of the Four Emperors? If my suspicions are true, I can only exclaim, the Abraham's family really are the unfortunate families. I wonder if the things mentioned by the owner of the notebooks were affected by the passage of time of over 1,000 years and the separation of the family, which might result in discrepancies. In the War of the Four Emperors, the deities actually personally participated in battle. Klein slightly frowned, and the speech at which he flipped the pages became faster and faster. Father, who chose to remain an ordinary person, ultimately succumbed to his disease. This dealt my mother a huge blow as she quickly departed with him. Oh, it's sad. And that means I'm free. But what hurts me is that Father didn't tell me many things about Beyonders to prevent me from embarking down the cursed path. I had to come in contact with them myself and understand them. Thankfully, he didn't violate the orders of the Elder. He still handed me the potion formulas of the apprentice, trickmaster, and astrologer as his deathbed. I will repeat the 3 formulas to prevent myself from forgetting. Sequence 9, apprentice. Sequence 8, trickster. Sequence 7, astrologer. Okay. After Klein, so okay, new lore. After astrologer is new. I remember trickmaster. I think astrologer is new. Yeah, astrologer is new. After Klein saw that, he pricked his eyebrows slightly, feeling that the trip tonight had been worthwhile, and that he hadn't wasted the purifying bullet, of course he still had to go above the gray fog to confirm its authenticity. Astrologer, the apprentice pathway actually has a divination series job as well. In that case, one of my speculations for the past might be closer to the truth. The seer pathway and the apprentice pathway might be interchangeable. Oh, okay. You're telling me he's gonna go apprentice and a high sequence? Oh, that's hype. Bro, the Battle of the Four Emperors is peak lore? We'll find out. I'm excited, bro. It sounds badass. The apprentice pathway actually has a divination series as well. In that case, one of my speculations from the past might be closer to the truth. So the seer pathway and the apprentice pathway might be interchangeable at high sequences. So from 4 and up. Klein nodded slightly and continued to flip through the pages. Although he had already determined the value of the notes, he didn't want to leave the scene for the time being. If the last few pages of the notebook noted that something had been hidden somewhere, he would definitely have to come back again. Since that was the main case, why go through so much trouble? As the pages turned, Klein roughly figured out the beyond history of this Abraham descendant. After his parents died, he began trying to touch base with mysticism circles to gather information about the sequence potions and purchase the corresponding beyond ingredients. After 2 years of hard work recording many still unconfirmed mysticism knowledge, he finally succeeded and concocted the apprentice potion. At the end of the notebook he wrote, according to my knowledge of mysticism, the spirit world and the real world would overlap the most of the night of the full moon. That is the time when one's spirituality is at its best and is also the most suitable time to consume the potion in advance. That is new lore. It's also most suitable time to consume the potion in advance. That is new. I did not know that. I did not know if you do it during the full moon, one's spirituality is at its best. Okay, so the red moon has something to do with spirituality and the spirit world. Okay, okay, all right. I will become an apprentice by the next full moon. I need to get stronger step by step and reproduce the illustrations, the illustrious glory of the Abraham family. Damn, I feel bad for this guy. He didn't even make it past sequence 9. Once I reach sequence 7, I'll be able to contact the elders according to regulations sent by my family. I know the method of communication well, so this is a secret that cannot be recorded. Take a potion to advance yourself during the full moon. Klein was stunned for a moment. He couldn't help but tap his chest 4 times during in a clockwise manner to draw the crimson moon. May the goddess forgive you for your ignorance. Klein vaguely understood why the man had lost control on the spot. Why? LOL, feel bad for the guy. The most suitable time to consume the potion, and he unalived himself. The most suitable time to consume the potion, and it didn't work out for him. According to his speculation, the curse that had plagued the Abraham family for more than 1,000 years was probably related to Mr. Door's call for help during the full moon. And that guy actually chose to consume the apprentice potion on the night of the full moon when he would call you. In that case, it was highly likely that he would hear the illusory mumbles while the effects of the potion had yet to fade, and his spirituality was in a very unstable state. As such, he exploded with a bang. Fortunately, the Hornicus flagera that I heard back then wasn't lethal. Klein subconsciously sighed. I think, because I'm telling you, it said that in the full moon, Mr. Door cries for help are at the max. Oh, so they assume that's when your spirituality. Oh, technically, yeah, it is true. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Like, that's when his cries for help are the loudest. But Hornicus flagera, he's acting like a pacifist when he's trying to communicate with Klein when he ascends, right? Sequences. So I think my theory is holding up. That they're trying to like set up Klein to be this vessel. So bro drank the potion at the first time. Yeah, he did. He drank like 10 shots back to back, thinking nothing would happen. Fortunately, the Hornicus flagera that I heard back then wasn't that lethal. Klein subconsciously sighed. Then he thought of the oddity of the Master Key and vaguely came up with a hunch. The formation of the Master Key stems not only from the condensation of an apprentice beyond his characteristics, but also from Mr. Door's illusionary ravings. Thus, the occasional problem of causing the holder to be lost becomes rather dangerous. It often allows the holder to enter inappropriate situations. This can be considered a kind of curse, and taking everything into consideration, Mr. Door being the ancestor of the Abraham family, Bethel is quite possible. Phew, Klein exhaled when he saw that there was no information about any hidden treasures. He took the brown notebook and left the basement. As he dropped the Zig's copper whistle, he retracted the same path he took to get there. When he reached the balcony, he raised his left hand and snapped his fingers. Wait, one sec. Alright, let's continue. After taking a detour... Wait. I skipped a line? The scattered matches on the stairs lit up with a crimson light. They soon extinguished, leaving only minor burn marks. After taking a detour to Eastboro to get rid of his disguise, Klein returned to Mink Street before midnight. He went above the gray fog and used his spirit dowsing to confirm the authenticity of the 3 formulas. Soon after, he tried to conjure the fake world opposite of him on the modeled long table. Klein was about to manipulate him when he suddenly raised his hand and smacked his forehead. I almost forgot. I brought the all-black eye back to the real world. After going through the trouble, he made the world disappear in his majestic palace and changed the surroundings to look like that of an ordinary room. Then he made the world boast pushly, as he said with a hoarse voice, "The fool that doesn't belong to this era, please tell Miss Magician that I've already obtained the Trick Master Potion formula." Look at that, dude. I hope that she can exchange it for items in the Sun domain, which are good at purification and exorcism. If the value isn't equal, then I'm willing to make up for it with additional gold pounds. If manipulating the world, Klein turning the scene into a ball of light and transmit it into the Crimson Star representing the Magician. He clearly remembered that during the last time Miss Shield had found someone to purify and exorcise her, Miss Magician had also been present. She was also present. Alright, next chapter. Thank you for reminding me. Next chapter. The search for a missing person. Force flipped through the calendar on her desk and used a pen to mark the date of an upcoming full moon. She had decided that as soon as she heard the horrible illusionary ravings, she would chant the name of the fool and pass the painful minutes above the gray fog. Life is truly filled with things that look forward to her. She closed the novel in her hand, ready to turn off the iron grill gas lamp that was set into the wall. At that moment, a flash appeared in front of For's eyes. She saw the boundless gray fog and a lofty figure that resided in the majestic ancient palace, as well as a man who was praying devoutly. When the voice reached her ears, she almost jumped, feeling both alarmed and joyful. That tickles. I'm sorry if you guys can hear her licking. The Trickmaster formula that I've been audaciously searching for all these years has been found just like that. I participate in so many different... Look at that. She's probably like mad and resentful that she couldn't find it all these years and then he found it. I participated in so many different Beyonder gatherings and failed to find any clues to the Trickmaster formula. Yet it has been found just like that, and not even a week has passed since I made the request. This is the Tarot Club. As expected, is not something ordinary Beyonder gatherings can compare with. For sighed with emotion and endured her excitement as joy as she cautiously responded, "Mr. Fool, is that formula authentic?" Yes, the fool who was sitting on the high back chair and looking down replied calmly. For suddenly clenched her fist and secretly pumped it by her waist twice. Almost without any hesitation, she asked, "That was Mr. World, right? Please tell him that don't growl at me. Please don't growl at me, girl. You wanted to come in, right? Now you're gonna hang out with me. Please tell him that I will find what he needs as soon as possible." With the gray fog dissipated and everything was over, Forrest remained stunned for 2 seconds. She couldn't suppress her excitement as she stood up to pace back and forth in her room. The Sun's domain items that are good at purification and exorcism. I encountered them only twice in the past, but they were brought by others. They might not be willing to offer them again. Yes, back at Mr. A's gathering, Shio... Wait, Ellie? Yes, back at Mr. A's gathering, Shio had hired a devotee of the Eternal Blazing Sun to perform a purification and exorcism ritual. He's at least sequence 7 and he should have the relevant items. Or perhaps he grasped key clues to them. I just wonder how much it'll cost. Although Mr. World's promised to pay the difference, I might not be able to come up with the amount needed for the initial payment. Forrest thought, gradually shifting her financial situation. She now had 730 pounds in cash, mainly earned from what Viscount Glade had paid for the apocryphy formula. She also had 510 pounds in her bank account, which added up to nearly 900 pounds. As for something similar, it can go as high as 2,000 pounds, with the cheapest might cost from 500 to 600 pounds. Yet it might not necessarily be kind of the item that Mr. World needs. What if I run into a suitable item but don't have enough money? Get a loan from the bank or a loan from an... Hey. You're acting more like the beast right now. You gotta chill. You're acting more like the devil dog. Stop it. I need the beautiful sissy dog, okay? I don't need that monster dog. No. I need the beautiful spectator dog, okay, Ellie? she's like the 2 sides right now. You know the meme of the wolf, like, I have 2 sides. One for Ellie is, one is the monster, no, one is the devil and one is the spectator. Ellie demon dog confirmed. Yeah, she can be a little demon dog sometimes. Yeah, she can be a little demon dog sometimes. Force thought gradually. I lost my place. I'm gonna awkwardly pause the video. Okay, found my place. As long as all goes well, then when Mr. World pays the difference, my debt will easily be repaid. Maybe I could borrow from Miss Alger for a few days. She usually never cares about money, so she will definitely not collect any interest. Forrest quickly came up with a solution. Just then, Shio, who had gone somewhere secluded at night to practice her combat skills, returned to their rented 2-bedroom apartment. Seeing that the lights were still on in her room, she knocked on the door and asked, "Are you plugging an all-nighter to write the beginning of your new book?" Forrest, you seem really happy. Did the publisher increase your rates? No. Forrest was slightly taken aback before she forced a smile. I received a piece of information that's suspected to be a clue of the Trickmaster Potion formula. I'm sorry if the reason I'm holding her like this, because look, she's really calm when I do this. If I have her on my lap, she's like, you see how she gets. When I put her down, she wants to get up. But if I'm holding her like a damn bird, she's chill. She is both light and darkness, literally right here. Look at that, both light and darkness. Two sides of the same coin. Forrest, you seem to be really happy. Did the publisher increase your rates? No. Forrest was slightly taken aback before she forced a smile. I just received a piece of information that's suspected to be a clue to the Trickmaster Potion formula. Really, your waiting has finally paid off. Shio totally didn't notice Forrest's hidden oddity. Seeing her good... Ellie, my arm is getting tired. Seeing her good friend so happy for hers, Forrest couldn't help but sigh to herself. I'm already a member of a secret organization. From that moment forth, I've already taken on a fate that requires me to constantly hide and lie to my friends. Aw. Is this the price 1 out of many to be paid? I love you, Ellie. Saturday morning, Klein once again visited the inventor of the Leopard and St. George Boros, Sirit Street. Since the bicycle had yet to be patented, they still haven't patented the damn bike. Since the bicycle had yet to be patented, he only paid the... Ow, Ellie, don't scratch me. He only paid the last 20 pounds and exhorted Leopard not to rush. I'm dropping my mic. Not to rush to talk about the subsequent investments and partnerships until he had the patent. With regards to this, Leopard was very agreeable. He had been tricked twice before by the same reason. Before getting a patent once the potential investor who had made contact with had fully understood his product, he was kicked aside to watch as the potential investor bribed the patent office and acquired the patent first. That's so mean. After two sides of the same coin, Ellie. Take it back. 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 I love you, Ellie. Chill. Take a chill pill. After leaving Leopard's place, Klein arrived at Isengard Stanton's place in the Hillston Borough at the appointed time. It was a dark and gloomy house. Today was the day that the rewards for the serial murder were going to be distributed. Walking through the living room and into the activity room, Klein saw the two detectives he was more familiar with, Kazlana and Stewart. I remember Stewart. Praise Ellie, and we keep praising. And sat down next to the latter. Sherlock, how much do you think we'll get this time? About 10 pounds. It should not be less than protecting Adol. Of course, I didn't do much, so what I can receive will be limited. Emperor Roselle once said, the more plowing and weeding, the better the crop. Stewart clenched his fist and held it to his bearded chin. Klein guessed with interest. I found my place. Klein guessed with interest. The split might be as high as a few hundred pounds, and even the lowest would be less than 10 pounds? That was a Beast Tamer special. Maybe we'll make that a short. And I'm the one that will get the higher end of the spirit. If Isengard Stanton's words were as credible as he had described, Klein added in his steered heart. At that moment, a white-shirted, brown-vested Isengard with his white hair as his temples and a tiny contorted face entered the activity room while carrying his signature pipe. As the fireplace burned, he sat down in a reclining chair and said with a smile, "Ladies and gentlemen, I just got back from the Buckland police station. They acknowledge our contribution and they think we've been instructed in cracking the case. Although we didn't participate in the subsequent capture, we can still obtain half the bounty. In other words, we'll split 1,000 pounds in cash. This is considered quite a handsome bounty, even in Backland. A single detective has to have zero expenses, no eating or drinking, and even resorting to sleeping on the streets for 4 to 5 days to amass this amount." The atmosphere in the living room immediately became relaxed. Everyone was filled with anticipation about the reward they were about to receive. Even Klein was no exception, as he guessed the amount Isengard would give him. "It should be at least 100 pounds, right?" he whispered silently. Isengard took a puff of his pipe, narrowing his eyes and said in a satisfied tone, "Everyone, thank you for your trust in me. I will now do the splitting. The biggest contribution is Detective Sherlock Moriarty." Round of applause, everyone. The ideas and trains of thoughts he provided us have allowed... He's gonna get 500 pounds, right? He's like, 5 pounds to Detective Sherlock. This fucking scammer's taking all my money. The ideas and train of thoughts he provided us have allowed us to find more clues and put us on the right track. He's a genuine expert at deduction. Ma'am, Kazlana can bear testament to this. I still have a few letters from Detective Moriarty, and anyone in doubt can take a look. That's very fair. He actually didn't list himself as the biggest contributor. Klein turned to the great detective Eisinger Stanton and viewed him in a different light. It's no wonder that he has such authority in the detective circles. Seeing that there were no objections, Eisinger nodded and said, I declare that Detective Sherlock Moriarty will be rewarded 300 pounds. Look at this, dude. Ooh, look at him getting money. Look at that. Look at him getting paid. Immediately, the detectives in the activity room broke out in whispers. From time to time, they looked up at Klein as if they finally recognized the brilliant detective whom Mr. Stanton had praised as the expert at deduction. What a generous man, a just man. Klein grinned and ultimately didn't act modestly. In the second place was Eisinger Stanton himself and Kazlana, who each received 160 pounds, with the rest of the detectives splitting the remaining 380 pounds, depending on their respective contributions. Even the lowest received 15 pounds, equivalent to 3 or 4 weeks of their usual earnings. This was the benefit of handing a majority case over with a high bounty. Stewart, who had received 40 pounds, was very pleased because he felt that he had only done 2 days of observation. Furthermore, the subject he observed ended up not being the final confirmed suspect. Of course, he had also paid a portion of the 40 pounds. All informants of the helpers involved in this matter had to be paid. After distributing the bounty, Stewart suddenly remembered something. He took out a piece of paper from his pocket and said to Klein, Sherlock, I've recently accepted a missing person assignment that pays a lot. Try using your resources and help me pay attention to it. If the person is found, I won't forget your share. Sure, no problem, Klein replied indifferently. Stewart handed over the piece of paper and said, It's this man. He's been missing for nearly 2 weeks. As he's involved in some improper conduct or might even border on committing a crime, the client doesn't wish for us to seek the police help. Klein nodded slightly and unfolded the paper. He saw a black and white photo that was made through lithography. It was a man with his hair that was combed back in a slanted fashion, and there was a certain elegance in his property. Do we know this? I don't think we know this guy. The best detective in Backland? You know it. The great detective Sherlock Moriarty. The one and only, dude. You're earning the big money. He was about 27 or 28 years old. He had a handsome appearance, but there was an undisguised air of arrogance between his eyes. His nose was high and his lips were thin. Right, his name was Stewart, recalled and said, Emil White. The vampire? Emil White? Klein suddenly turned his head to look at Stewart. Ah, isn't the name of the vampire who's imprisoned in the basement by Father Utrowski. In Duke Negan's mansion, Audrey, who had been invited to a tea party, was listening to her mother and Duchess Della chatting about nobility matters with a slightly bored expression on her face. Her eyes swept across the 3-layer racks, the uniquely styled muffins, cake, and other delicacies, tidbits. She felt that she had been indulging herself recently, so she lightly picked up her cup and sipped the black tea. After a while, she got up apologetically and, accompanied by the maid, went to the bathroom. As soon as she came out, she met a tall, middle-aged woman with slender eyebrows and a graceful appearance. It was Duchess Della, younger sister, the wife of a hereditary Viscount Lady Norma. After exchanging the formalities, Norma looked at Audrey and said with a chuckle, I heard that our beautiful young lady... Oh, we had a POV change. My bad. I thought they ended up at the same party. After exchanging the formalities, Norma looked at Audrey and said with a chuckle, I hear that our beautiful young lady is very interested in mysticism. Oh, she's in! She mentioned mysticism. Yeah, she's with the psychology alchemist, right? I heard that our beautiful young lady is very interested in mysticism. She mentioned mysticism. Could it be that someone from the psychology alchemist is here to test me? Audrey instantly entered her state as a telepathist. A little embarrassed, she lowered her head and replied, yes. Okay, alright. I'm liking where this is going. For real, what vampire? That's obviously... That's a great sanguini? Like linguini. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Oh man. All right, let's pause and update. Let's keep going, man. All right, so it wasn't sanguini. How do we pronounce it?
Sanguine.
Sanguine. We truly butchered that word. Okay, sanguine. Sanguine?
Sanguine.
Sanguine. Sanguine.
Sanguine. Sanguine.
Sanguine. All right, we're good. That's what I was trying to say the first time. I just messed up my pronunciation. Hey, I'm only human, guys. One would say a fool, which means blood. There's no way Leonard is wrong. We? No. This is a we thing. This is a we effort. Sanguine, so it's not sanguini, is Latin or Greek. I knew that. Chapter 338 is called The Experienced Klein. After hearing Audrey's affirmation, Lady Norma laughed. What an honest child. I happen to know some experts in mysticism who are very knowledgeable. We don't want to do anything with them. Would you like to chat with them? Definitely, that's exactly what I want. Praise the lady. Feigning surprise, Audrey threw a crimson moon on her chest. With a smile on her face, Madame Norma nodded slightly and said, how about we have our afternoon tea together tomorrow? Ooh, okay, we're doing some recon with the Aurora Order. No problem. Audrey's excited eyes held a little innocence. As she bade Lady Norma farewell and headed for the living room, her smile gradually settled as her bearing turned composed and relaxed. The detailed changes in her body language, the color of her emotions, and the changes in her body of heart and mind were reflected superficially, and they all imply that she holds no ill intentions, but she was rather nervous. It seems like Lady Norma might really be a member of the I said the Aurora Order. My bad. Of the psychology alchemists. Huh. She had been observing my expression and actions, but she couldn't adjust or hide her emotions. Maybe she's like Susie, a spectator. But unfortunately, she didn't know that the person in front of her is a telepathist. Audrey. Oh! She's a spectator. Audrey thought, the feeling both perturbed and proud, she couldn't help but let her feet gracefully walk in a straight line, with one foot taking the place of the other. In the house of Isengard Staden, situated in the Hillston Borough, Klein's lips quivered a few times, but in the end, he didn't ask Stuart if his employer was or what he looked like. He decided not to get involved in matters involving Emil White as best as he could. Although based on Emil's words, he was a law-abiding vampire, but that was only limited to his claims. There were still too many gaps about his earlier life for Klein to be sure that he had not harmed the innocent. As a result, he lacked the motivation to seek out Father Utrowski to save Emil. After all, Father Utrowski was a Dawn Paladin who was skilled in combat and had the aid of mystical items. Furthermore, he was unweakened Dawn Paladin. He killing that name? Please use it. You know what? It's pronounced how?
Emlyn.
Emma what?
Emlyn.
Emlyn?
Emlyn.
Emma say what?
Emlyn.
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 Alright, Emlyn. Oh, that's a lot easier. Emlyn. Now that we know the pronunciation. Although based on Emlyn's words, he was a law-abiding vampire, but that was only limited to his claims. There were still too many gaps about his earlier life for Klein to be sure that he had not harmed the innocent. As a result, he lacked the motivation to seek out Father Utrowski to save Emlyn. After all, Father Utrowski was a Dawn Paladin who was skilled in combat and had the aid of mystical items. Furthermore, he was an unweakened Dawn Paladin. Besides, it would make it easy for him to expose his true identity to Father Utrowski and Emlyn White. Let's hope that he can gain... Oh, and since Emlyn is Welsh for jewel, he's like a white jewel. Ah, he's like a shining white jewel. Very poetic for a vampire's name. I like it. Let's hope that he can gain the approval of the powerful priest as soon as possible and finish this sentence to be let out on patrol. In his heart, Klein tapped 4 times in a clockwise fashion for Emlyn White. After the bounty was divided, the detectives took their lives and Klein was given the best treatment. He walked out the door by the great detective Isengard. Holding his pipe, Isengard coughed lightly and said, there are still some suspicion points about the serial murder case that we haven't fully understood. There might be even more ferocious guys hiding behind the killer's pack. You must be careful not to spread the word that you played an important role in this case. It seems like the official Beyonders also suspect the gigantic devil dog has an owner. He does. Klein replied solemnly, I know, I had my own guesses about this too. Mr. Stannen, you have to be careful as well. You were the only one who gathered us, and you're a major partner of the police. It's him, bro. You don't need to hide. It's Isengard. Isengard put the pipe in his mouth. I am gonna lock in on this theory that Isengard is the dog owner. Isengard put the pipe in his mouth, then he took it out and said, Sherlock, I guess I'll call you Sherlock. You can rest assured that although I'm no longer young, I'm still an he's not young because in his younger days, that's when he was helping that dog. I'm still an outstanding fighter, an excellent marksmanship with an instinctive vigilance. I wonder what he used it for back then. Furthermore, you have a high probability of being a Beyonder, not from the low sequences. I just wonder which pathway you belong to. Klein thought for a moment and said, Mr. Saturn, you don't seem to be a native from Buckland. Your backland. Your accent is closer to that of Civilis? That. I knew that. Just skip the name? Civilis. We don't need to skip it. I know how to pronounce it. Your accent is closer to that of Civilis. Just like that. Yeah, just like your mid-Seashire accent, Isengard admitted frankly. The two detectives smiled at each other as an acknowledgement of others' observational ability. Klein returned to 15 Mink Street before nightfall. Well, I now have 1,224 pounds in notes, plus 5 gold coins, and a small amount of change. This is quite a considerable amount compared to how much I had when I first came to Backland. However, yeah, he was losing money like every day. He was losing money. He just kept spending and spending. Sequence 6 Beyonder ingredients will cost at least 1,500 a pop. That's the first time he says like a pop. Sometimes because they're scarce and rare, the price might even increase to several fold. And Beyonders who can obtain such items usually are in low in sequence. They wouldn't misjudge its value and sell it at a low price. It's quite impossible to pick it up at a bargain price. Although the lady with the artisan behind her is very eager for the Dark Emperor potion formulas, she has to consider the progress of her advancement. For her to only be at a sequence 9, it's quite impossible for her to spend a large amount of money to buy the formulas up to sequence 6 in advance unless she's filthy rich. Well, you can't always be so exploitative. You can't be... Klein is gonna exploit her. Geeky butchering names once again. I don't know what you're talking about. Never have I ever butchered a video on the VOD. I don't know what you're talking about. While in thought, Klein was in no hurry to prepare dinner. Instead, he went back to his bedroom, drew the curtains, and went above the gray fog. He had an idea that he needed to verify. Sitting in the full seat, he stretched out his hand and picked up the unadorned brass master key. Based on a notebook he read last night from an Abraham descendant, he guessed that the man had lost control on the spot because of his choice of advancement during the full moon. Therefore, the curse-like ability of the master key, which can make people go lost only to find themselves in bad spots, had a high probability of being contaminated by Miss Door's illusionary ravings. Other than that resentment and indignation in the Beyonder characteristics, so what sort of changings will it undergo when the full moon? Klein mumbled. Conjuring a pen and paper, he wrote the divination statement he had thought long in advance. What it manifests during the full moon, holding the piece of paper in one hand and the master key in another hand. Klein leaned back in his chair and gave a self-deprecating laugh and said, I'm courting death again. You guys have mentioned that quote a few times. I remember that. Well, there shouldn't be too much danger this time. Mr. Door is far separated from the real world. He's lost in the depths of the darkness. Furthermore, I have the Grey Fog to shield me. In this case, the danger from divination was no different from direct divination. The experienced Klein half closed his eyes. What you can't see won't kill you. Half closed his eyes and his pupils turning dark as he constantly chanted, would it manifest during the moon? After several times, Klein followed into the dream. In the great detached illusionary world, he once again saw the basement where the Abraham descendant had died. The flesh and blood here had long since dried up. The silver pocket watch inlaid with diamonds and ancient-looking master key had yet to be stolen. They were still lying on the ground. Suddenly, a sharp, hollow voice echoed in Klein's ear. Oh, he's gonna hear it. Lore? 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 It was like a thin needle stabbing into his head, extending inside bit by bit, while it scrapped as if it was going to be completely peeled off his scalp. This extreme pain causes Klein to wake up and sit up straight. He looked up at the blue veins protruding on the back before they quickly resorted to normal. Ugh. Huh, it's really gross when like he hears the mad ravings and like his body starts becoming like disfigured, or like, what was it? Like his veins will like come out and like, it's just gross, man. He looked at the blue veins protruding on the back before they quickly restored to normal. It's much more manageable than spying on the eternal blazing sun or secretly listening to the true creator's angry roars. Klein went from pressing down his fingers to wrapping them as he thought. Of course, if this were the outside world, he believed that he absolutely wouldn't have had such a reaction. If Miss Magician had always been listening to such pleas, she would have long lost control. From the looks of it, due to the resulting curse, the master key making the voice even clearer. That's not right. Father Wachowski has likely survived the night of the blood moon with the master key in hand. He clearly wasn't affected. Perhaps he had stored the master key in his bedroom and stayed in the hall outside for confession. As long as one makes contact with the master key, they will hear the pleas during the full moon. Oh, so he hears them. Before becoming a high sequence beyonder, I wouldn't dare listen to it in the real world. What I heard just now seemed to be a requesting assistance in ancient Hermes. Klein carefully recalled and confirmed what he had heard. With regards to this, the only thing he could do was twitch the corners of his mouth. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is really a deaf-styled plea in the true meaning of the phrase. It's a pity. If only we could make those people from the Rose School of Thought here, Mr. Door, please for help one night of the full moon. With their already cold, warped personalities, they would definitely explode one after another. They would definitely explode one after another. After carefully considering if there were any way to achieve this goal, Klein returned to the real world. According to his plan, he enjoyed dinner, changed his clothes, and left the house. He made 2 transfers and arrived outside the Bravehearts bar. He only circled it once without ordering any alcohol before leaving. While doing so, he noticed the Casper was back again. After walking a block, Klein specifically got on a rental carriage and made the driver head to Sherwood Borough. An illusionary figure appeared in front of him just as the horse moved forward. It was Miss Sharon, wearing a long black regal dress. Are you done with your preparations? Ain't no way. Now we're going into the fight. All right. Are you done with your preparations? Sharon asked coldly. The soft black cap on her head was firmly pressed against her light blonde hair. Coupled with her pale face, her exquisite facial features gave her the beauty of a doll. Klein answered frankly, not yet. I'm still waiting for an item. Sharon said with an unperturbed blue eyes, I've prepared a mystical item. That's why you took the mission of being a 3-day bodyguard for 1,000 pounds. Back then the item caught your eyes, but you lacked the money. Klein smiled in enlightenment. So that's why she took it. She needed the item for the Sequence 5 Beyonder. Don't be anxious. The most prepared we are, the greater the chance of success. Furthermore, I can usually use a mystical item from the Sun domain to make up for my shortcomings. Klein added in his heart. Seeing that Sharon had stopped talking, he said, I came here today to get you guys to help me an experiment. What is it? Sharon asked simply. Klein said with a serious and trustworthy expression, according to Merrick's description, I think your curses are different. During the full moon, he has to endure the crazy desires for bloodlust, which makes him unable to fight. As for you, you would enter a weakened state if you do not absorb the souls of humans. Is that right? Sharon listened quietly and nodded. Yes. I don't have any solutions to your problem at the moment, but I think it's still possible to suppress Merrick's problems temporarily. For example, taking appropriate medicine and letting him be in a state where he does not have any emotions. That way, during that time, he won't be in pain and he will be able to participate in battle. Klein expressed his thoughts. Sharon shook her head and said, it doesn't work. Such medicines is no longer effective against men. No longer, in other words, it had worked before. Klein thoughtfully asked, why? He had injected too much in the past, so he grew immune to it. He had injected too much in the past, even if he changed types, it'll only be effective for the first 3 to 4 times. We're unable to find any new types, Sharon said, suddenly turning silent as though remembering something. Hearing her words, Klein immediately smiled. I have a different kind of sedative here from the Apocryphy. Seeing that Sharon didn't say that this sedative was ineffective, he clasped his hands and continued, I'll give you one and let Merrick try it during the full moon. It's going to be a full moon tomorrow night. If it's effective, let him drink 2 or even 3 in one go before the battle. As for whether he would develop a resistance to the same medicine in the future, that's not something that needs to be considered right now. Klein thought calmly. I'm ready. This is getting kind of hype. Ooh, next chapter is called Psychiatrist. All right, I can see what's going on. I can see the foreshadowing with this. Something with Alger, right? Maybe? No, maybe not. How often are these full moons? I don't know. They've never emphasized it, and I don't know if we need to know. How long? Maybe? We'll find out, right? All right, let's update and let's keep reading. Chapter 339 is called Psychiatrist. Sharon took the sedative that was stored in a glass tube, looked at the liquid that looked pure, and lightly nodded. All right, as expected of someone who doesn't waste her breath. Klein smiled and said, Miss Sharon, can you tell me the candidate locations for the battleground that you've decided on. Can you tell me the candidate locations for the battleground that you've decided on? I wish to familiarize myself with the surroundings in the next few days. This way, no matter where you ultimately choose, my preparations would be more than sufficient. And since they have the right to choose the location of the final battle, they won't worry about the possibility of me informing the authorities or any other Beyonders who might try to take advantage of the situation. Of course, if she really doesn't trust me, she could try another notarization, Klein thought quietly. Sharon stared at him for a few seconds with her blue eyes before saying, prepare a map of Backland when you are back. Leave it on the coffee table, no problem. I hope that this cooperation would not only go smoothly but also be enjoyable. Klein habitually leaned back forward to shake hands. Sharon lowered her head back to take a look, and her figure gradually faded into the air. Klein continued his motion, and Ray's were recording and we're unmuted, right? Okay, we're good. Klein continued his motion and raised his right hand to smooth his black hair, laughing dryly in the process. He asked for the location of the background ahead of time, not only to prepare for the mission, but to also go on a guard against, but also to be on guard against Sharon and Merrick. Although their philosophy was to suppress and restrain their desires, and it was unlikely they wouldn't kick someone to the curb when they've outlived their usefulness, Klein couldn't be sure that Rafe, Steve, Zombie Jason, and Werewolf Tyr didn't have what they have abnormally desired. If there really was a treasure that would cause an ordinary Beyonder to have strong, malicious intent, Klein really couldn't guarantee the two mutants would be able to control themselves. Therefore, he had to figure out the environment in advance and prepare an escape route in the event that they wished to silence him. It wasn't that Klein didn't trust Sharon, who I trust her 1000%. I would never doubt this woman. I already love her. It wasn't that Klein didn't trust Sharon, who would have went through life and death with, but it was the most basic form of self-protection. One shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but one must be vigilant so as to not be harmed. That is a good quote. One shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but one must be vigilant so as to not be harmed. That is a damn good quote. Klein turned his head to look out the window and sighed inwardly in Chinese. One gas lamp after another kept being left behind as the carriage went forward. The streets became more spacious and clear, and it took more than half an hour to get back to Mink Street. Bro, a simp for Sharon? Just like me, for real? You said that, not me. We'll see. We'll see. Hold up. We'll see who I come to like the most. And I lost my place. But bro, can't trust Isengard. I don't trust him. He is too nice and wholesome. He is too good at his job. There has to be a reason. One gas lamp after another kept being, I butchered that sentence, kept being left behind as the carriage went forward. The streets became more spacious and clear, and it took him more than half an hour to get back to Mink Street. It's really expensive taking a carriage at this time. Klein looked up at the nearly black sky and read the moon that seemed to barely pierce through the clouds. He walked on for a while, and suddenly he saw the house of the Lord Drigan was dark. The lights aren't on, so he doesn't have to go inside and feed them. Pulling out his gold pocket watch, he presses open and glanced on it. With a chuckle, Klein detoured to Drigan's door as he used the key that he had been given to open it. At that moment, Brody, the black cat, was already quietly sitting behind the door, staring at the visitor with his pair of dark round green eyes. The room was dark and silent, bleak and lonely. Klein squatted down and tried to touch Brody's head, but Brody quickly moved back and flung his hand away in disgust. Shaking his head with laughter, he got up, opened the valve, and lit the gas lamp. Following Drigan's description, he went to the cupboard to find the food that had already been prepared. Then he went into the kitchen, lit the kettle to boil some water, and prepared Brody's favorite dish, boiled chicken breast. The black cat followed him in, and with agile leap, it reached the counter. It sat beside him and watched him without making a fuss. Klein glanced at it, rehearsed the shreddings of chicken breast in his mind while he chatted with Brody. You must be Miss Doris, right? Are you worried about her condition? Lord Drigan didn't come home today. Are you feeling lonely and uncomfortable on your own? Do you feel like you lack a sense of belonging and are exhausted? As he spoke, Klein's voice slowly faded into silence. Brody the black cat remained sitting there, quietly watching him. It didn't make any noise, nor did it cry out. Audrey was invited to tea at Lady Norma's house. These are the mysticism experts that I mentioned. Lady Norma introduced the distinguished guest warmly. This is Mr. Hilbert Alucard, a psychologist. I'm burping. I'm sorry. Goat indeed. Sighed inwardly. Who's the goat? I'm the goat. You're the goat. Who's the goat? Who is the goat here in this sentence? Who is the goat in this stream? These are the mysticism experts that I mentioned. Lady Norma introduced the distinguished guest warmly. This is Mr. Hilbert. Oh, Mr. Hilbert Alucard. Oh, Alucard. A psychologist and a jewelry designer. Ah, a jeweler. A jewelry designer. I butchered that. He's very talented. This is Miss Escalante Ozeleka? Escalante Osleka. She's a... I butchered that. Alucard might go. I like Alucard. I already like that name. She's a doctor for mental health, what we usually call a psychiatrist. Hilbert Alucard was a man in his 40s. He looked to be of the southern continent descent, and his skin was brown. His brown hair, blue eyes, and facial features weren't particularly outstanding. He gave off a silent and reserved feeling. Escalante? Google Translate? We should. One more time. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Alucard is Dracula backwards. I know that. Bullseye. Let's try it one more time. Escalante Osleka was a baby-faced lady who looked like a young girl studying at a public or a grammar school, even though she was already a psychiatrist. She was 3 or 4 centimeters shorter than Audrey, and she had long, raven black hair that reached her waist and a pair of lake blue eyes. Lake blue eyes. Those are really beautiful eyes. Okay, cool. Audrey exchanged a few pleasantries with him. Then she sat down, kneeling, aware that Alucard and Escalante were observing her. She didn't use her telepathist abilities, and she pretended to know nothing. While initiating topics in the field of mysticism, she constantly paid attention to her emotions, ensuring that they were in the most logical state. I can't let them find out that I'm already beyond her, and that I have already taken the spectator and telepathist potions. Audrey knew exactly what role she was to play today. Unlike the silent Alucard, Escalante was quite a conversationalist. After a few rounds of exchange, she asked, "Do you know about the major years of major months?" "No, I haven't heard of those," Audrey cautiously answered, using only the knowledge she had obtained from her interaction with mysticism enthusiasts. "In fact, I've already learned from Mr. Hangman what a major year and a major month is," she added with a smile in her heart. "A major year refers to the number of years it takes for the planet to deviate from its axis." Why do we need to know this? This sounds important. There has to be some crazy, there has to be something crazy behind this. Like now the planets are involved, totaling 25,920 years. When is the next cycle? In the field of mysticism, this is considered a complete cycle that goes from the beginning to the end. This does not sound good. A major month refers to the number of years it takes for this divination to pass through one of the 12 constellations. Each major month represents 2,160 years. During the transition of major months, terrible disasters will occur, and according to the calculations, we aren't too many years away from the end of the current major moon. Ooh, okay. Maybe this is what's going on with the true creator. Escalante spoke with confidence, keeping the atmosphere harmonious. I am butchering her word. I know it. I know I'm butchering that name. Audrey hid the fact that she knew a lot, and she also asked the wrong questions from time to time in a curious tone. With this, time passed quickly. At the end of tea time, Alucard and E stood up at the same time to take their leave. Leaving Lady Norma's house, this caused Audrey to be rather disappointed. She imagined that they would eventually hint at the matter regarding the psychology alchemists, but in the end, they didn't say anything. Yes, as a secret organization that cannot be exposed, the examination of candidates can't be that simple and direct. From the looks of it, they will need to interact with me a few times and observe me in secret before they decide whether or not they want to reveal information to me and recruit me into the organization. That's good too. I can report this to Mr. Fool. Audrey quickly understood the underlying reasons. She then took her leave. Oh, she's going to join them, but then still be... that's how I said it. Escalante. Yeah, that's what I said. Escalante. Yeah, that's what I said. Right? Is that not what I said? Google Translate Chan will be used right now at the end of this chapter. She then took her leave, and Lady Norma walked her to the door, smiled, and said, "Audrey, I see that you're also interested in psychology. Why not consider being a psychiatrist before you get married? Count Hall and his wife are followers of the goddess. They should be able to support you in doing such things. Among aristocrats, unless there are financial crises or other special situations, coming to an agreement on marriage required a long process. Only after careful consideration and comparisons will they be able to make a decision. This was because this wasn't only a matter between two youngsters, but it also involved the alliance and mutual assistance of the two families." That makes sense. Therefore, although aristocratic women were able to officially enter social events under the direction of the queen after the age of 18, proclaiming their adulthood and consideration for marriage, they often started a family after the age of 26, according to statistics. Similarly, the average age of a male aristocrat enters into politics for the first time was age 28 and a half. Okay? In other words, Audrey would have about 8 years to do what she liked after she reached adulthood. The Church of the Evernight Goddess has always encouraged female believers to go out to work and engage in certain occupations. In the aristocrat circles, many young ladies and women become literacy critics, musicians, pianists, painters, etc. Is this a test? Audrey smiled faintly and replied, I will need to read more books in that case. Actually, she had always felt that it wasn't too safe for members of the psychology alchemists to become psychologists or psychiatrists because of the upper echelons of the official organization, such as the Nighthawks and Mandated Punchers, likely knew of the acting method. Therefore, they would definitely pay more attention to this group of people. Ah, what's up? What's up, Unhinged? What's up? Welcome, welcome. Therefore, they would definitely pay more attention to this group of people. Lady Norma seemed pleased with her answer, nodded with a smile. Escalante and Alucard are both good teachers. Well, maybe I consider asking Miss Escalante to be my home tutor on psychology. Audrey nodded obediently. When Klein got up to the early Sunday morning, he found that the map of the backland on the coffee table in the living room had already been circled in several places, and they weren't too far apart. Therefore, he spent the rest of the morning carefully familiarizing himself with his surroundings, figuring out exactly where the buildings were located and where the nearest cathedral was. In the afternoon, having time to spar again, he went to the Quilling Club to practice his shooting and beyonder powers. As soon as he entered the hall, he saw Surgeon Aaron Cerise hobbling out and slowly from the buffet cafeteria with a crutch. After greeting him, he asked out of concern, how have you been lately, Aaron? Has your luck improved? Aaron, who was... Oh yeah, he probably went to a bishop. Has your luck improved? Aaron, who was born with a blank face, smiled sincerely. At least I'm not that unlucky anymore. I followed your suggestions, went to the cathedral, and told the bishop about the matter. He told me to go directly to the confessional to pray to the goddess. I actually fell asleep while praying. What the heck? This guy just... He still has bad luck. But I felt like the goddess had bestowed me with a peaceful state. After that, my luck has been normal. Praise the lady. He drew a crimson moon on his chest. According to my experience, it was likely a particular sequence of a nightmare who caused you to fall into a deep sleep. Man, imagine like Dunn Smith lives on in your memories. No, not in your memory. Like he lives on in your dreams, right? Like even though his physical body is dead, his spiritual body can still make contact with you, in the nightmare world or the dream world. Oh man, I'ma cry like a little bitch if anything like that ever happens again. Then a Nighthawk who specializes in rituals quickly set up an altar. I can't wait to avenge him, man. I can't wait. I'm gonna be so happy when that happens. Quickly set up an altar, prayed to the goddess, and neutralize your misfortune. Klein smiled. That's great, man. At that moment, Aaron looked at him and said, he was such a good character. Sherlock, I've always felt that you weren't very pious in your belief of the goddess demon machinery. Why don't you change your faith? Look at me, a perfect example. Put your faith in the goddess. Ooh. And then that's a good excuse for him to declare himself as a believer of Mommy Evernight. Okay, that makes sense. I'm gonna miss him, man. All right, let's update and let's keep going. All right, chapter 340 is called Past. Aren't you making things difficult for me? Upon hearing Aaron's request, Klein almost drew the crimson moon on his chest, but he ultimately resisted the urge and replied very seriously, perhaps there's something about my behavior that has led you to misunderstood, but I have to tell you the faith is something that cannot be changed after it's decided upon. Oh. Aaron immediately raised his arms and made an apologetic gesture. I'm sorry that I misunderstood your faithfulness. I shouldn't have taken your faith as a joke. Alright, our differences in faith do not prevent us from becoming friends. Klein wiped away the fake expression he put on and smiled. That's not true, and faith sick and faint of powder, they can only accept one faith. And in comparison with so many churches and coexisting for more than 1400 years, Lowen and Intis are much more open in this respect. Before Aaron could answer, he casually changed the subject. Did you see Will Ossipiton again? I'm returning. I read that wrong. Why are you guys talking about birds? Oh, he's getting closer to the bird? Oh, did you see Will again? I'm referring to the kid that had one of his legs amputated. The one who said that your luck would turn for the worse. He was certain that the Nighthawks would follow the clues provided by Aaron, so he wondered what the outcome was. He was curious if the child who changed Aaron's luck still had the tarot cards in his possession. No, I haven't seen him since he left to the hospital. Aaron shook his head. What a pity. The Nighthawks can find his address according to the hospital records, and it's not convenient for me to be involved. Of course, the child might be moved away long ago. After a brief exchange with Aaron, Klein decided to head to the underground shooting range, familiarizing himself with his free revolver with ordinary bullets. At this moment, two more acquaintances came in. One was a member of the National Atmosphere Pollution Council, Coim Company shareholder Mam Marion. The others were Klein landlords Stelline Samir. We haven't seen her in a while. They were all wearing relatively light skirts, making them look much younger. According to the rules of the club, each member could only bring in one additional person. Therefore, Mary's maid and her bodyguard were left in the reception hall. Klein politely greeted them and praised them out of courtesy. Ladies, you two are as beautiful as ever today, yet there is a beauty that is different from your usual beauty. Having come into contact with a lot of important figures recently, Mary smiled and said, Roselle said that exercise is a necessity of life, and Stelline is always at home dealing with trivial matters. Even when she's out, she would be participating in parties and listening to operas. Her health is much worse than it used to be, so I brought her here to play tennis and squash. With her high cheekbones, she looked around and saw a member of the House of Commons and two other members of Parliament of the greater Backland area. She then turned to Stelline and said, I see someone I know. Excuse me while I head over to greet them. You can wait for me at the library. All right. Compared to Mary, Stelline was clearly much prettier towards this lady. She seemed very respectful and docile. After Mary had gone some distance away, she slightly raised her chin, looked at Klein and asked, Mr. Moriarty, you seem very busy these days. Yes, I worked with a lot of detectives to help the police investigate the serial murder case. We came to a certain contribution and received quite a sizable reward, Klein answered truthfully. Stelline covered her mouth with her hand. Really? What did the murderer look like? Why did he kill those ladies? The newspapers have been very vague. I'm sorry I have to comply with the confidentiality clause. Klein definitely made up an excuse. It's not like I can tell you that it had a body of a black fur, a smooth glistering tail, and that it likes to run on all fours. Klein lampooned inwardly. Stelline nodded regretfully, and then she asked curiously, so how much did you get? It was split among quite a number of us. Klein didn't answer directly. Was there 50 pounds? Stelline processed. Yes, Klein. Was there 50 pounds, Klein? Was there 50 pounds? Stelline pressed. Yes, Klein nodded honestly. Stelline Simmer smiled. You earn a lot more than I imagined. You really are a capable detective. No, it's like, now I'm gonna raise your rent. Acceptin? Alright, I'll remember it. Thank you. Thank you, Lost from Light. Thank you. No, it might take years to come across such a case. Klein smiled and shook his head. No matter what you have proven, your abilities... Stelline? Her? Occipitin? No. Stelline's eyes looked like they were thinking as she said, next Sunday, Luke and I will be hosting a party at home. I hope you can come. I'm sorry, I was very presumptuous. I'll have my maid send the invitation to you. Heh. There will be a lot of unmarried ladies at the party, and their fathers or mothers will have decent jobs, and their families will earn more than 200 pounds a year. Some of them have part-time jobs, and they can do that at home, such as being a typist. They're all very excellent women. This is a blind date party. Miss Stelline has approved of my ability to make money as a detective, and she plans on introducing me to a girl. But in her eyes, I am only fit to be with a woman of that level. Many thoughts flashed through Klein's mind, but after considering the need to maintain their neighborly friendliness and the trouble of preparing his own dinner, he agreed with a smile. If all goes well, I'll be there on time. Stelline smiled and said, then Luke and I will be awaiting your visit. She left without another word and entered the small library of the club, while Klein proceeded to practice his shooting and beyond her powers in the small enclosed shooting range. At 9 o'clock at night, Klein was sitting at the desk watching the crimson moon gradually pierce through the clouds, revealing a full body. The water-like red veil... Oh, it's a full moon. A full body? The water-like red veil slowly spread out, and time passed by minute. When it was 10:15, he heard illusory pleas that seemed layered. Klein easily guessed that it was for Miss Magician. Closing the curtains, he switched off the lights, took 4 steps counterclockwise, and went above the gray mist. Oh, okay, now they're going to be speaking 101. There, he reached out to touch the shrinking and expanding crimson star. In a split second, the hazy figure of Fours appeared on the chair with the symbol of a layered door. She let out a sigh of relief, stood up, and bowed. Honorable Mr. Fool, you have saved me once again. That's not something to worry about, Klein replied in a very light, casual tone. Fours was left speechless and sat down again. She was considering what had just happened, so she didn't say anything. As for Klein, he didn't take the initiative to bring up any subjects in order to maintain his image. Within the towering place, which looked like a giant residence, the silence quickly transferred into the main theme. When Force snapped back to her senses, she suddenly felt that this atmosphere was a little oppressive and uncomfortable. During the gathering, there still missed just as Mr. World and company. There was no need to worry about complete silence, but now there's only Mr. Full and me. What should I do? This pressure is stiffening. I need to say something. I have to. I can't just sit here like an idiot. That's Mr. Full. He certainly wouldn't care about anything, but I'm so nervous and restricted. Force suddenly felt as though she found herself alone with her boss when she first entered the workforce. Although Klein wasn't a spectator, he could clearly see Miss Magician's restraint and knees. He smiled and said, maybe you can tell me how you became a Beyonder. For example, how you obtained the apprentice formula and that bracelet. Klein silently added the real question he was trying to get. Forrest relaxed a little and recalled, that was almost 3 years ago. I just graduated from Beckland Medical School. With my father's help, I entered a private clinic with pretty good benefits. My father already settled down in East Balham back then. Ever since the safe sea route to the southern continent was discovered, the outstanding youth of the kingdom started spreading their footprints to every corner of the land. My father, as a low-level military officer, went east Balham to chase after the wealth and power. My mother and I were left behind in Buckland to live like widows. It would take months before a distant letter sent by boat would arrive. This situation isn't uncommon in my kingdom. I knew an old gentleman who had 5 children, but they were either in the archipelago, Western Balham, the Paz Valley, or the Hygenti Plains. They have their own career, their own family, and their own wealth, but they've forgotten that there is a father waiting for them to return all this time. When I was in grammar school, my mother fell seriously ill. I had no choice but to helplessly watch her die on the hospital bed, and it took my father a month to answer my letter, telling me that he had a new family and a new life in East Balham. What the fuck, man? He gave me all his property in Backland plus some money. I think he felt a little guilty. As a best-selling novel writer, Forrest had mastered the art of rambling. Since Klein had nothing to do, he listened quietly without interrupting. Forrest exhaled and continued. Anyways, my father introduced me to Oneself Clinic through the Veterans Club. The salary there was really good and I was doing pretty well, but I was a little anxious about the future. Hence, I worked hard to learn more from the senior doctors and worked hard to save money until I met an old lady who came to see me regularly. She was very lonely and childish, and her partner had passed away 10 years ago. I had some sympathy for her, so I often talked to her and accompanied her. Once, I was surprised to find that she was able to walk through walls, which opened a whole new world to me. That old lady said that it was something her husband left her. She vaguely mentioned that as long as one wasn't a member of some family, there was apparently no curse. New lore? So all major families have a curse. That was not explained. Oh, so the city of Silver would be like the descendants of the giant, right? So they're like the family of giants, so that's their curse. We had the Abraham curse. I forgot what other curse was mentioned. Okay, all right, okay, we're learning more stuff. That old lady said there was something her husband left behind. Apparently no curses. Okay, not long after that, she was so ill that she was on the verge of passing away. She asked me if I wanted to become someone like her. I was very young then, and I still had a lot of fantasies in my head. I agreed without any hesitation. She gave me the formula and told me to watch her body after she died and take away the glowing object that would suddenly appear. And this was the thing she left me, which could be used as the main ingredient of a potion. Oh. Oh, snap. Not every curse could be blood related. Yeah, so like at least for the city of Silver, they're all different families, right? But it's like, maybe it's like their heritage? No, but actually yes. No, but actually yes. Okay. Like there's some connection to it. She also main ingredients of the potion. Also, she gave me this bracelet, telling me not to use it unless I'm in absolute danger. She also told me not to pay too much attention to the ravings during the full moon. Unfortunately, I was ultimately unavailable to avoid danger. After using it once, the full moon ravings became worse. It seems like that was a widow of a particular Abraham. It seems like that was a widow of a oh, the old lady. She was a widow of an Abraham. She had used her own experiences to prove that the curse only existed in the bloodline. Klein nodded. Once you become a high sequence Beyonder, the ravings wouldn't have much of an effect on you. I hope so. Although she didn't believe she could become a high sequence Beyonder, she believed in Mr. Fool. It was Monday again, and it's almost time for meeting. It was Monday again, and as soon as Klein got up, he went downstairs and saw an open sheet of paper on the coffee table in the living room. Effective. That's good. Klein immediately let out a sigh of relief. At 15 minutes to 3 in the afternoon, he promptly went above the gray fog to prepare for the new Terror Club gathering. Nice. Now I wonder what we're going to find out. What new lore will we find out? Chapter 331 is called Private Communication. The site of the towering stone pillars that supported a high dome and modeled an ancient long table that appeared to have been placed there since hundreds, if not more than 1,000 years ago, entered the eyes. Although Audrey Hall had seen this scene many times, she would still feel a kind of shock that came from the bottom of her heart the moment she arrived above the gray fog. Out of the we're going from her point of view? Out of the corner of her eye, she scanned the surroundings and didn't see any new members. She then looked up and bowed to the person in the thick gray fog. Good afternoon, Mr. Fool. As she spoke, she suddenly saw a card covered with a complicated pattern on the table of the right fool. The card of blasphemy? It was lying there quietly, casually, looking like an ordinary object. Is that the card of blasphemy that hides one of the paths of the divine? Audrey immediately understood after the fool nodded in response. She subconsciously glanced at the hangman, the sun, the magician, and she found that they had also noticed a card that didn't exist in the past. However, their eyes and actions revealed their... I thought it said donuts. Revealed their doubts and astonishment, as well as their inevitable conjectures. After all, a card that could be placed by the mysterious and lofty Mr. Fool was definitely not an ordinary item. Well, Mr. World's reaction is a little odd. He's not even looking there. Is he able to hide his thoughts so well? Is he really the nemesis of a spectator and a telepathist? Audrey quickly decided that other than Mr. Fool, the card of blasphemy was known only to herself. This made her feel, that's true. Yeah, only they would know. This made her feel quite proud. It was a feeling like sharing a secret with her parent when she was young while she kept her two elder brothers in the dark. That's a card of blasphemy created by Emperor Roselle, a treasure that countless beyonders in the mysterious world dream of. Audrey took the initiative to raise her hand after the magician, the sun, and the others did their greetings. Honor Mr. Fool, I have something I would like to report to you alone. Alone? Alger frowned slightly as he subconsciously tried to guess the content but was without any clue. Derek and the others were also curious, but they didn't think too much about it. Klein nodded slightly and waved and said, sure. Frankly, he had no idea what Miss Justice was just going to report him. After waiting 2 seconds, he blocked off the senses of the rest of the members and gestured to Justice. Audrey sat with a dignified posture and said with a sincere attitude, Mr. Fool, as I had asked to purchase a spectator formula at a Beyonder gathering, there have been 2 suspected members of the Psychology Alchemist who came in contact with me recently. Oh, that's what she was going to say. Recently through certain nobles. I'm inclined to join them, but only I can guarantee but my own safety. What is your opinion on this? I've attached great importance to this. Psychology Alchemist, from the evidence from the various sources of information, is not considered an evil organization. At present, they might not have a deity that they believe in. Eventually, they'll believe in the Fool. Its main mission is to explore and research one's mind, consciousness, psyche, and spirituality. It's more like a scientific self-help group. Of course, among Orthodox churches, it's also a form of a sacrilege, since they believe that everyone's spirit belongs to God. And according to Dexter Guderian, the upper echelons of the Psychology Alchemists definitely have an inclination, the original creator, the God that created everything, and they worship him to a certain extent, a rather primitive form of worship. Many thoughts flashed past Klein's mind and finally said with a smile, if you think it's suitable, you can do so. Ooh, look at that. Bro, don't talk about donuts. No, do not succumb to the donuts, Cammy. No, we gotta hit the gym, guys. We gotta be consistent. If you encounter a problem, you can seek help from the Terror Club. Thank you for your suggestion. Audrey instantly felt relieved. Klein thought for a moment and added, using a calm and leisurely tone. Inside the Psychology Alchemist, there are people planted by the churches, such as informants of the mandated punishers and Nighthawks. You have to know how to hide and conceal yourself. Oh. Mr. Fool is so nice to remind me to be careful. Audrey slightly bent her eyes and replied with a shallow smile. In the future, there will also be an informant from the Terror Club inside. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. In the future, there will also be an informant from the Terror Club inside the Psychology Alchemists. Miss Justice, you haven't even joined, and you're already thinking of betraying them. That's a good double agent. That's a good double agent. Now, I really hope there's not a bad double agent. I'm liking her right now because she's going to be a good double agent. Like, now we have an informant on the inside. I don't want it to be the other way, where they have an informant on the inside. After reporting the eye, skipped the line. Miss Justice, you haven't even joined and you're already thinking of betraying them. Klein silently drew an invisible crimson moon from the Psychology Alchemist. Message deleted? Oh, maybe we're on something. Okay, never mind. After reporting the matter of the Psychology Alchemist, Audrey wasn't in a hurry to end the conversation. Instead, she said, Mr. Fool, I've memorized another 2 pages of the result diary. That was also why she had asked to speak to him in private. She had conjured Roselle's diary and given it to Mr. Fool under the witness of the magician, for she could imagine that at the end of the gathering, Forrest would immediately come to her and borrow those Roselle notes she had bought in the past, and with regards to this, the goddess could prove that Mr. Fool had seen them all. I forgot to do so previously. One of these 2 pages, I'll find an opportunity to tell Forrest that the Roselle notes I bought were torn apart by Susie. Yes, torn apart into pieces that cannot be restored. I'm sorry, Susie. Audrey repented in her heart. My dog ate my homework. What a good excuse. Very good. Klein knocked gratefully on the edge of the long bronze table and helped Miss Justice conjure the diary pages. When he had the 2 pages in his hand, he cast his eyes over only to have his smile gradually stiffen. The first line of the journal read, 6th of March. Damn it, I've almost constipated from eating the food here. This is what I saw at the result. It's what he read. This is what I saw at the Result Memorial Expedition. Klein hid his expression and turned to the second page. He found that the contents were still compliments and novel experience of Result's earlier days of his transmigration. They were of no particular use. He controlled his expression and smiled. Do you wish to deduct from the gold pounds you have yet to pay, or do you wish to get something else in return? Audrey said without any hesitation, Mr. Fool, I would like to know which path of the divine that card of blasphemy is. You really treat money as dirt. Klein silently sighed. As he didn't hide his smile, he said, this is a Dark Emperor card. The corresponding sequence 9 is lawyer. So that's what it is. After receiving her answer, Audrey felt abnormally satisfied. After the private conversation ended, the magician Forrest looked eagerly at the World, who sat right at the other side. Mr. World, I will try my best to gather a mystical item or a powerful beyonder weapon in the Sun Domain. What kind of deal do you... Ooh, that would be very beneficial towards Klein. What kind of duel did you 2 make in private? Despite feeling very familiar with Forrest, Audrey wasn't aware of this, so she couldn't help but ask. Forrest laid out a sign and said, Mr. World has helped me find the formula to Trickmaster. Mr. World sure is capable at finding formulas. Does he have extensive and reliable resources and connections in this field? Audrey listened in surprise. The hangman Alger concealed his solemn expression, once again re-evaluating the World and raising his assessment of him. As for Derek, he felt rather expectant. He hoped that after he finished digesting the light supplicant potion, Mr. World would be able to easily find his formula for Sequence 7's Solar High Priest. The World laughed hoarsely when he faced with his numerous gazes that were staring at him. Miss Magician, before you purchase it, it's best that you chant Mr. Fool's honorable name and request that he pass the relevant information to me. Yes, I have already sought Mr. Fool's permission and he has agreed to help. If I'm not satisfied with the items that you have set for your eyes on, perhaps I will consider switching to another request. Klein now had 3 alternatives for the items in the Sun Domain, so he planned to compare them before making any finalization. One of them was a brooch with old Mr. Eye of Wisdom he had mentioned. It had the effects of purifying any warding off evil spirits and letting the wearer use a portion of the spell in the Sun Domain. The negative effects was that the wearer would never feel cool, forever stuck in hot and irritable state. Klein found the mystical item only okay, and since the price could be close to 2,000 pounds, he was unable to afford it. Even if he had sold it to the briber formula, there he planned to wait for a few days. If Miss Magician and the Lady of the Artisan backing her couldn't find something better, then he would cash out the formula and buy the brooch. Okay, I'll give you the information no later than tomorrow. Forrest had confirmed that Mr. A would be hosting a gathering that very night, but she had given herself another day for an unexpected outcomes. When the conversation was over, Alger looked around and said, as if he had already prepared a draft, I recently took on an investigative mission. I'm not sure if you have any relevant leads. In the past 2 to 3 years, many original native tribes of the southern continent have been plundered and all their people were taken away. In the various colonies on the islands at sea, some slaves have also mysteriously escaped. Such situations have not happened in a long time since the countries of the northern continent abolished the slave trade. Have you all heard anything that's relevant? His eyes swept over just as the magician in the world, but he didn't look at the sun. How could a boy trapped in the city of silver inside the forsaken land of the gods know about what's happening outside? Audrey carefully recalled the conversations she had at the many noble gatherings, but after a while she said, no, I've never even heard of such a thing. The magician in the world shook their head. Is this indicating that the slave trading in the black market is flourishing again? Why would they need so many slaves? Klein sat at the end of the long bronze table and thought about the matter suspiciously. Seeing that no one could provide any clues and how Mr. Fool showed no interest in whatsoever by interrupting, he said without changing the expression, you can attempt to seek out the formula for Wind Blessed. I will provide you with payment that would absolutely be enough to satisfy you. The formula's for the Wind Blessed. He's almost done digesting the potion of the Seafarer. Klein activated his spirit vision and glanced at the hangman. Sure enough, he found that the surface layer of his astral projection was not only pure blue like the sea, but it also had slight ripples as if slowly undilating. If I do the math, it took Mr. Hangman nearly 4 months to digest Seafarer potion. He's often at sea. Audrey also made a judgment based on what she had observed. Another point that Forrest paid more attention to was that Mr. Hangman was likely a Sequence 7. A mid-sequence beyond her, she nodded indiscriminately and said to herself. After the Hangman finished announcing his mission, Derek raised his hand and said with some apprehension, I've already assigned to go on a mission. I will be heading back to the half-destroyed temple that I mentioned previously in the near future. Yes, the one related to the fallen crater. The leader responsible for this operation is Shepherd Elder Lovia. Do you have any suggestions? Wait, that's the one we heard about her. Oh, bye. Yeah, have a good day. I'm leaving. Bye, guys. Hey, I hope you have an amazing day. All right, let's pause the update and let's use Google Translator, Chan. Chapter 342 is called The Old Fox Alger. What do you mean he's an old fox? Said the liar. Bet. Watch. Suggestions. My advice is to stay as far away as possible. Upon hearing the son's question, Klein instantly had such an answer in his mind. However, in order to preserve the image of the fool and see what the others would suggest, he remained silent and did not manipulate the world to speak. After a short moment of silence, Alger turned his head to look at the sun. He said in a staid and gentle voice, You have provided too little information, so it's difficult for us to give any useful advice. The only thing we know, regardless, that semi-destroyed temple is the presence of the true crater, or in other words, the fallen crater's unique statue. We don't know what else is there, so naturally we aren't able to make much of an analysis of the situation. The fallen crater is indeed the true crater. To think that there's faith in the true crater in the city of Silver where the sun lives. There's even a temple. There's a temple built. There's even a temple built. The magician Forrest listened with relish and almost wanted to write it down. Just as Audrey waited for the son's description of the strange temple in anticipation, Derek nodded. His eyes looked up for a few seconds before he said, In addition to the statue, there are also many incomplete murals with terrifying evil spirits lingering around. However, they have already been eliminated by the exploration team led by the 2 elders from the 6-member council. I've yet to see those murals with my own eyes. It said that it records the prophecy of the end of days of how from the moon cycle. And how the fallen creator, did I not say it had something to do with the true creator, or did I not say that? Will save his believers, as well as the corresponding bloody ritual. In the corner of a certain mural, there are some strange characters that appear to be evolved from Jotun, and some deciphering a few elders believe that they meant Rose Redemption. This might be a code name for the original muralist. It might also be code for the name for the organization that built the temple in the city. According to the chief's judgment, these murals are at least 1,000 years old. Okay. The 1,000 years I'm referring to is the one that you know, but I'm not completely sure. In the city of Silver, we use the frequency of lightning to demarcate our days. It's considered night when the lightning eases up, and day when there's plenty of lightning. One cycle is a day, and the 4 seasons only exist in the book, so we can't grasp the specific number of days. Only the chief can confirm that. At this point in the sun story, Forrest suspected that she was listening to a fairy tale. A city without the sun, without the red moon, without day and night, a change in seasons, or changes in seasons. It sounded unreal no matter how she listened to it. Only fairy tales or novels would make such daring descriptions. Oh, inspiration for her new book. And the author has to smoke cannabis and to be in a state of psychotic madness in order to create such a city. That's what I'm saying, man. Cuttlefish is a little on the nose with his descriptions. Yeah, he's a little on the nose, man. The first thought that came to her mind after her astonishment was, I want to use the City of Silver as a blueprint for a novel. Yeah, however, she soon gave up on the idea, for she didn't know what the City of Silver really implied. She wasn't sure if it was a secret that was collectively concealed by the 7 churches, and she was afraid that as soon as the book was published, she, the author, would have the Nighthawks knocking on her door, claiming to collect copper pennies in her gas meter. So that's the kind of environment which the City of Silver has, huh? The sun also often mentions of monsters lurking in deep and darkness. Unfortunately, I'm only at sequence 8. Otherwise, I would really like to ask Mr. Fool to send me there for an adventure. No, Audrey, you are no longer an innocent girl. You should be aware of how much danger is involved in this matter. Just as Audrey switched between letting her thoughts run wild while also engaging in self-reflection. At least 1,000 years, the Aurora Order hasn't been in existence for more than 3 centuries. It might not even be 2 centuries old. It's unlikely to be built by them. Perhaps the true creator faith had begun as early as the 5th epoch, or even the 4th epoch. However, the organization that revealed him was in the Aurora Order. In the next 1 or 2,000 years, the 7 Orthodox churches have been representing it, causing the true creator believers to be in a crisis. The churches have destroyed them again and again, and finally they have resurrected themselves as the Aurora Order. Klein, who had some guesses, made his seating posture and state appear unchanged. Derek paused for 2 seconds and continued. A preliminary clean up for the terrifying monsters in the city ruins and half-destroyed temples have been done. Our mission this time is to explore the underground parts of the temple. Do you have any suggestions? With your understanding of the fallen creator, what should I pay attention to? My suggestion, Alger said without almost any hesitation, my advice is to absolutely not to go. Don't go. The fallen creator is a true evil god. Even if his temple has been destroyed, it might still contain abnormal danger which cannot be easily detected. If one leading your team is one of the other elders of the 6-member council, then there's nothing wrong if you insist on going. It would only be risky, but you just mentioned that the person in charge of this matter is Shepherd Lovia. Shepherd Lovia, and the true creator is the deity of standing at the peak of this beyond our pathway. Therefore, absolutely do not go, Alger added. Your suggestion is the same as mine, but it doesn't require the sun to describe half-destroyed temples. You could have come up with this conclusion with the conditions at the beginning. I understand, Mr. Hangman, you were doing it on purpose. This way you got a rough idea of his state in the temple without paying attention. You're really just bullying a little kid. Sitting at the end of the table, Klein leisurely reached out his hand to support his forehead. The sun was silent for a few seconds, and seemingly having been put in a tough spot, he said, but this mission is compulsory. The hangman chuckled and said, nothing is necessary. Will you be participating in patrols before the mission? Find an opportunity and deliberately let the monsters injure you. As for how serious it should be, you can reference the past cities of the City of Silver. At this moment, Audrey read a message from the sun's eyes and movement that actually works. After a brief period of surprise and confusion, Derek frowned and said, I don't have any patrolling missions in the near future. Alger sneered. You can always pretend to be on the brink of losing control. Not to be precise, you can push yourself to the brink of losing control. Under such a situation, I believe the higher-ups of the City of Silver would definitely not bring dangerous baggage with them on an exploratory mission, right? There is a trick. As you keep your spirituality in an empty state for 2 days, you will begin to hear auditory hallucinations and show signs of losing control. That is new. W. Alger. Alger teaching little son how to skip work like a responsible adult. Good for him, man. There is a trick. As long as you keep your spirituality in an empty state for 2 days, you will begin to hear auditory hallucinations and show signs of losing control. If you stop suppressing yourself, then your situation will improve in a week and you wouldn't really lose control. Of course, your City of Silver definitely has some solutions and contingencies to curse those who show signs of losing control. Your recovery will definitely be quick, so you need to time yourself perfectly. It's best if you start doing so 2 to 3 days before you set off. Derek was stunned for quite a while before he muttered to himself, yes, those who show signs of losing control will be placed under the control and be quarantined underground in the spire, where they will be treated with medicine, rituals, and mystical items. If the situation isn't too serious, then they only need to consume medicine. Sai, an honest and good kid, has been corrupted by an old fox just like that. But Mr. Hangman, how did you know of this trick of punishing yourself to the brink of losing control? If you use this trick often, losing control might really happen. Klein signed in his heart. Foreshadowing that somebody loses control of the Tarot Club gathering? I do not want that to happen. No. No. I swear that better not happen, man. I lost my place, man, as I'm thinking out loud. I found my place pretty quickly. Audrey was dumbstruck when she heard this. She felt as though she's been educated. Seeing that the son was still hesitating as though he didn't wish to lie to the City of Silver elders, Alger slowly asked, do the other elders of the 6-member council know that the fallen creator controls the shepherd pathway? They don't. Derek shook his head honestly. Alger asked, do you think it's possible that Shepherd Elder Lovia will do harm to the City of Silver? Just answered yes or no. There's no need for any explanation. Yes. Derek finally couldn't lie to himself. Alder triggered and said, so you are the only one who knows of this matter, but you haven't had way to warn the other elders of the 6-member council, right? Yes. Derek's expression grew heavier. Alger, oh my god. Alger changed his sitting posture and leaned back. This This mission carries immense risk. This is something you know. If you die in the half-destroyed temple, then who will be able to find a way to expose the strangeness of Shepherd Lovia? Who can save the city of Silver from this crisis? The fallen creator is a real evil god. You are not pretending to lose control or lying to others for your own personal interests. You are doing so to save the city of Silver. Comparing your honor to that, which is more important? Derek clenched his teeth and nodded solemnly. I understand. Thank you, Mr. Hangman. Audrey and Forrest suddenly had the urge to facepalm themselves. He really is as easily fooled child. Wait, I don't know what's going on. This scummy move, I love it. This is all slander. Wait, now he on my lord. Wait, I'm facepalming. What's going on? He really is an easily fooled child. What is going on? Somebody break it down. What's going on? My telepathist foresight ain't that good, bro. My clairvoyance is pretty low right now. However, that's good too. It prevents the Tarot Club from losing members in the near future. Klein signed silently as he controlled the word to say, I have a question to ask Mr. Sun. This could involve a transaction, therefore I'm requesting a private exchange. Klein quickly switched back to himself and nodded indifferently. Sure. After the others were screened, the world looked at the sun and asked, does the city of Silver have a way to remove an evil god's mental corruption on a Beyonder characteristic? This was something Klein had wanted to This was something Klein had wanted to ask a few times before, but considering that Justice and the others might also be interested, and if the Sun was unable to answer questions that involved an evil god, then all eyes would likely be cast towards the godlike Mr. Fool. Therefore, he had restrained his impulse. It was only a moment ago when he had got inspiration from Miss Justice and came up with the idea of communicating privately. We have never encountered an evil god, Darrett answered earnestly. We can only separate a rampager's mental corruption from a Beyonder characteristic. A rampager's mental corruption? That fits the description. From a Beyonder characteristic. That's it! This might actually work. After all, I have the Great Fog. Klein suppressed his joy and made the world speak. What do you need in return? It's not a matter of compensation. Sun shook his head. The method and corresponding knowledge requires me to be at least captain of a patrol team, or even a strong warrior like the captain of an exploration team, in order to be privy to such matters. The former requires being sequence 7, while the latter requires a minimum of sequence 6. Phew. Klein sighed, letting the world hoarsely say, I hope that you can attain the qualifications as soon as possible. Alright, that's good. I like it. That was a good chapter. Wait. Bruh read but forgot to read? Alger is manipulating Little Sun into skipping the trip into the True Creator's Temple, even though he feels bad for abandoning them. Alger is telling him that he is doing it for the better good rather than himself. But he's not fooling him. It's the truth, right? No? Damn. Alger actually fooled me too. Okay, I get it. He actually fooled me. A chapter where Alger gets to shine. Yay. That's a win. That's a win in my book. It's subtle manipulation. Okay. He's like, just skip the gym, bro. Don't do leg day today. You can skip leg day. Do leg day next week. Kind of like that, right? It's for your own benefit. It's still right decision. It's still the right decision, though, right? Okay, that's what I'm saying. I love Alger. I love him. I love him already. He's looking out for Little Sun, man. He's actually looking out for him. Let's do one more chapter. Chapter 343 by Oneself. After the private communication between the world and the sun, the Tarot Gathering began its free discussion session. Audrey asked with great interest about the unique scenery of the sea and any other strange happenings, while Alger gave selected descriptions according to his own knowledge. Forrest listened quietly and was inspired to write a novel about a pirate king. So she's gonna write One Piece, of how he captures a female passenger and has a complex love affair with her. So Romance Dawn. I understood that One Piece reference. A fantasy that coexists with reality. Derek could only imagine what the sea looked like based on the paintings in the City of Silver. Oh, he's never seen the sea. Based on the paintings in the City of Silver and the corresponding words. And the end, Klein, whose spirituality was gradually drained, announced the end of the Tarot Gathering, after which he quickly returned to the real world and made up for it with a nap. 7:30 at night in Emperor's Borough, inside a particular noble's house, Forrest put on a hooded robe after so many After so many days, she was once again attending the gathering organized by Mr. A. She sat quietly in the corner, and whilst pretending to casually survey her surroundings, she noticed that Mr. A, who was sitting alone on the sofa, seemed a little different from before. This wasn't a change in appearance or temperament, because of other party's face was completely hidden in the shadow of his hood, preventing her from making out anything. The difference she felt was an almost intuitive feeling. Mr. A is no longer as carefree and indifferent as before, with him always looking at everyone in a supercilious manner. The current him seems to be very repressed, like he's trying his best to control something. He feels a lot more dangerous now. Ooh, he's a lot more dangerous. In the past, Mr. A was a mountain. Now he's more like a reared up snake sticking out its tongue vociferously? Ferocious. I'll say ferocious. The best-selling writer Force suddenly felt grateful that she hadn't gotten Shield to come with her, since she needed her to hide matters about the Tarot Club and not let her know that she was looking for something in the Sun's domain. This was even if there are any accidents, my escape would be much easier. She rotated the bracelet, which only had 2 stones left. She's gonna run out of those, man. She was in no hurry to write down her request to hand over the attendant. Instead, she patiently observed for a while. It wasn't that she was naturally cautious, but the lessons of the past had left her with deep impressions. The 2 stones on her bracelet were evidence of this. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, she finally picked up a piece of paper and a pen in front of hers and wrote in deliberately distorted handwriting, seeking to buy the mystical items of a powerful beyond her weapons in the Sun domain. After handing the note to the attendant, Forrest looked around again, but she couldn't find the eternal blazing sun believer who had helped with the purification and exorcism ritual. Among the disguised or masked figures, trades took place of the attendant shuttled about. The entire hall remained quiet and orderly. After an exchange in the middle of the gathering, Forrest requested was added to the 2 chalkboard right in front. Not long after she received a reply from the attendant, a small slip of a white paper was filled with dense words. Mystical item, Band of the Light Ring. It can make the wearer an envoy of light, an attendant of the sun. They would be immune to various diseases and wield sacred powers. The wearer can summon blinding light and use several spells in the sun domain. It can purify all dead spirits in a 50-meter radius. It is the nemesis of such creatures. Okay, that sounds really good. It is the nemesis of such creatures. If this wearer is acknowledged by the ring, Klein could use this. If this wearer is acknowledged by the ring, if the ring has to acknowledge the wearer? If the wearer is acknowledged by the ring, they will be enhanced, otherwise they will be weakened. The only problem is that if the wearer utilizes it too often, it will slowly become a believer of the eternal blazing sun and slowly defend the doctrines and praises of the sun from the bottom of their hearts. If you... Damn, that is a lot. If you wish to obtain it, then please pay... That is not worth 9,000. Just steal it. If you wish to obtain it, then please pay me 9,000 in cash at once. I can wait for you to raise it. 9,000 powers. Flora's mouth gaped open and thought the other party was robbing her. She is being robbed. This was a huge amount of wealth that she wouldn't be able to borrow, even if she asked someone to lend her. Ask Audrey. This was a huge amount of wealth and she wouldn't be able to borrow, even if she asked someone to lend it her. Aside from the deposit for the assassination of the Intis ambassador, the amount of money she had seen so far combined had never been this high. A person with 9,000 pounds in cash was considered a tycoon, even in Backland. Although I know that mystical items are expensive, I never expected them to be this expensive. Does he plan on getting the 9,000 pounds and not participate in the Beyonder gatherings anymore and leave the circle so as to enjoy life in peace? For a moment, she didn't dare to reply to the seller. She pretended that nothing had happened and listened for nearly 10 minutes. But when she received no additional response to relatively inexpensive Beyonder weapons, she got up and went to the washroom. After confirming that no one was around, she closed the toilet door and sat down on the toilet. She recited Mr. Fool's honorable name, told him in prayer, and said about what had just happened, and asked him to pass it on to the world. Klein, who had layered illusionary sounds, quickly went above the gray, endless fog and gained a basic understanding of the situation. 9,000 pounds. He mouthed the number, his expression twisting slightly. After silently calculating the amount of money he could raise in a short period of time, he let out a breath, conjured the fake person, the world, and manipulated him to give response. The negative effects of the mystical item is too serious. I do not wish to be a believer of the sun. That is true. You don't need to worry about this anymore. We'll transact using cash. Pay 450 pounds and you'll get the formula for Trickmaster. The moment he finished his sentence, he cut the connection. Watching as the world disappeared, he raised his hand to rub his forehead and muttered to himself, next off to see the information on what kind of items the barbarian lady can gather. Otherwise, I can only purchase the brooch from Eye of Wisdom. In the washroom, Force let out a sigh of relief. She indicated that she would hold a sacrificial ritual as soon as she got back. It's a pity that I don't know the formula for now. Otherwise, I could take the opportunity to see if there are any beyond ingredients I need. She returned to the hall and focused on the information of the 2 black boards. She didn't respond to the previous note, much less consider bargaining, even if the seller was willing to discount it by 1,000 pounds. She wouldn't have the money or liquidity to buy it, and more importantly, she felt that Mr. World couldn't afford it either. She stayed until the end of the gathering, and because Mr. A's changes, she didn't linger or talk anymore. She quickly left the house. After more than 10 minutes, the gathering came to a complete end, leaving Mr. A and his attendants alone. Slowly, Mr. A got up and walked down the stairs to the basement. Suddenly, his knees buckled, and he fell to the ground, rolling down several steps. He was sprawled on the ground, and the shadow beneath him quickly turned scarlet red. His flesh and blood melted and mixed into the shadow, making it look like brand new, skinless, monster-like person that had been separated from his body. Gasp, gasp. Mr. A's breathing gradually returned to normal, and his taut body gradually relaxed. The blood and flesh that had been separated flowed back once again. Everything returned back to normal. Mr. A crawled forward and knelt in the basement, once again confessing his sins while choking it with sobs. He was confessing from his oversight from before that he was vigilant enough and caused the Lord's descent to fail. City of Silver, Derek Berg's house. He walked in silence a few times around the table, unable to make up his mind. His reasoning told him that Mr. Hangman's suggestion was the best one, but the faces of the other members participating in the mission kept flashing in his mind, and he felt that he had abandoned and betrayed them by pretending to lose control. Oh, because she was going to take him out. Is there no way to save them? Should I find a chance to meet with the chief and tell him that the half-destroyed temple belongs to the fallen creator, who is an evil god that controls the shepherd pathway? That he should be careful of Elder Lovia and change the person responsible for the mission. But how should I explain where I got this information from? In their eyes, Mr. Foe would be the same as an evil god. Derek pulled his hair in frustration. The axe of a hurricane was placed in a position that was within reach of his hands. Every time a bolt of... I like that now we're focusing on Sun. I have been waiting for a Derek chapter, and I will take it. Even though it's not the full chapter, I will take this. The axe of hurricane was placed in a position that was within reach of his hands. Every time a bolt of lightning streaked past the window, it emitted a faint light. Suddenly, Derek stopped and looked out into the darkness and into the dark sky. It was as if he had once again seen the state of his parents wherein before their deaths. He found the pain he had experienced when he stabbed his swords downwards. That is sad. There's no time. I need to make preparations for the future so I wouldn't be suspected for my discovery of that god being the fallen creator. As his expression distorted, he clenched his teeth and muttered to himself. He then suddenly left the side of the window and went back to the table. He began practicing the light supplicant beyond her powers to drain his spirituality as quickly as possible. And the Hall's fam... Damn, we're going through everybody's point of view. Watch Alger be at the end. Damn, we're getting every member in the Hall family luxurious villa. In an art studio, Audrey leisurely smeared oil paint when she heard a rhythmic knock on the door. When her maidservant Annie opened the door, she saw that it was her mother, Countess Kathleen. Although this lady was close to 50 years old, she looked to be in her early 30s. She had blonde hair, green eyes, and a beautiful, graceful appearance, enough to attract the attention of most gentlemen. Mother is something to matter. Audrey put down the item in her hand and stood up, puzzled. The Countess looked at her daughter, who was even more beautiful than her younger self. She smiled and said, "I just attended a dinner party. Lady Della said that you're very interested in psychology and that you wanted to hire a tutor, didn't you?" "Yes, but I haven't decided yet," Audrey replied hesitantly on purpose, just like she usually did. How could the Countess not see through her daughter's thoughts? She smiled and said, "She recommended a psychiatrist named Escalante." I read her name wrong. Sun chapters on the way. You're gonna get so many Derek chapters soon enough. Oh, I am so ready, bro. I want Derek chapters. Have I not said that I want like an entire volume of Derek just like being a monster hunter and like going out into the fields and ruins and just taking out wraiths and demons and oh, dude, it's like I'm ready. I am ready for like this dark fantasy like point of view when we get to like only Derek chapters. I am ready. I am thirsting for those chapters, bro. I can like My thirst will not be quenched until I get these chapters. But I'm excited. Yes, but I haven't decided. Audrey, I read this already. Wait. How can the Countess not see through her daughter's thoughts? She smiled and said she would recommend a psychiatrist named Escalante. If you have no problems with that, I'll send someone to invite her to tutor you twice a week. How about that? It's your decision. Audrey smiled, blossomed bit by bit. Mother, come and sit here. I'm lacking a beautiful model. On Tuesday morning, Klein confirmed 4 point of view changes. That is, I think that's the most we've had. I think the most we've had was 3. This is the most. Now we're back to Klein. That is 4 character POVs. On Tuesday morning, Klein confirmed through Backland Morning Post that Eye of Wisdom Gathering would be held tomorrow night. He was relieved that he was no longer worried that his acquisition of the items he needed would be in time for Miss Sharon's attack on the enemy. To celebrate the good news, he decided to take a day off at the Quillen Club. Alright, he takes a day off. And I think that's where we end our read-through. Alright, let's update. Yo, everyone. Yo, what's up? What's up, D? Let's quickly update this. All right, let's do overall thoughts. I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy you streamed early since I have choir in 1.5 hours. Hey, I'm glad I was able to stream a little bit early. So I'm hoping we stream a little bit. I'm hoping we stream at this time on Sunday. Yeah. So I think we're good. But overall thoughts, I like it. I'm excited for what the future holds for Derek and chapters specific. Oh my God, I'm stuttering my words. I'm lost in thought. I am excited to learn more about the City of Silver and like Derek soloing like a mission or like just him going out and venturing into the abyss. I am excited for that. I'm also excited to see what's going on with like the ocean and the sea. And like we know at one point we're gonna have to give more stuff with Alger and like all this pirate info. Like we need to see what's going on with the Pirate King in One Piece. Like there's so much going on in the City of Silver and the ocean. And like I'm really hyped to see more, bro. Tomorrow there's a fight. I thought we were gonna get a fight in this chapter and this read through, but I'm thinking it's the next one. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. If you like what you see and you want to see more, peace and have a beautiful day. All right, later, guys. Oh wait. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, sub, and if this video has earned your like, share the video, like the video, thumbs up. That's a bad outro. What is it that people say? Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. What the fuck? We went up 16 subs in like 2 days. This video has earned my like, and you have also earned the approval of the fool. If you believe in the fool, make sure you like the video. Oh wait, I have divined that you will like this video. And I have also divined that if you have not subscribed, you will subscribe after this video. Did that work? I hope it worked. All right, guys. Peace. Have a beautiful day. Later, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.